Next case.
All parties in the matter of Carpenter versus Young. Step forward, please.
Customer service manager Andrew Carpenter is suing his ex-girlfriend, clerk Rhonda Young, for the unpaid balance on a car loan. Rhonda says as soon as they broke up, the deal went sour.
Miss Young was your girlfriend. She came to you at some point and said she was having some financial difficulties. She fell behind in her car payments. According to you, you loaned her money, some $800 and change, to make 2 car payments. So far, correct?
Yes.
And she didn't pay you back any of that money?
No.
Then she was in more financial trouble, so you agreed to take out a second mortgage on your house.
Yes.
And loan her enough money to pay off the car loan so she wouldn't have any more stress. And the agreement was she was going to pay you $200 a month for 5 years until her loan to you was satisfied. So far, right?
Yes.
Is that pretty accurate so far?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she pay the car off?
She sent a cashier's check on the 9th of December.
Okay, so in December. So her first payment was due in January.
Yes.
And according to you, she didn't make January's payment.
Yes.
She did make February and March, but not January.
Yes.
So on April 1st, you took back the car.
Yes.
And you still have the car.
Yes.
But you say you've had it appraised for what you could sell it for. And it comes up a little short of what she owes you if you went to sell it. So you want her to pay the difference now.
Yes. I gave her a piece of paper also stating that she could make payment arrangements and contact me on paying this difference amount, and she said, no, see you in court.
Well, at this point, she's correct, sir, because you don't have fixed damages. Let us say, under the scenario that you have just outlined, I find her in breach of that contract, which enables you to take back the car. Did you make January's payment?
At the time we were going to go on a ski trip, he told me not to worry about it. I went ahead and sent it. And I said, okay, are you sure? He goes, go ahead and do it like that. But, you know, I'm going to have you write me checks after that, send them to my house, and I will send it to the mortgage company. So I complied exactly what he wanted.
You didn't make January's payment. You made February and March. And
Yes,
when
ma'am.
did you break up, by the way?
The end of January.
And he didn't take the car back in February or March?
That is correct.
Not until April. So let us assume that I find that she breached the agreement by not making January's payment, and you had every right to take back the car. And your plan is to sell it, right?
Yes.
You have to do that. You have to sell it so that the damages that you have are fixed. How much did you loan her for the car?
$10,000.
And let's say you actually sell it and get $8,000 for the car, leaving $2,000 balance.
Yes.
And she has made 2 payments to you so far of $400.
Yes.
Which means she owes you $1,600.
What about the two car payments?
And the 2 car payments if I find that that was a loan.
She said she'd pay back.
Along with this money, because you were her boyfriend. I'm not persuaded about these 2 car payments. But let's say you sell the car for $9,000. Say you find some sucker who's willing to give you an extra $1,000. That means that your damages are only $600. So when I say you don't have fixed damages yet, Mr. Carpenter, you haven't sold the car.
Correct.
Do we understand each other?
Yes.
So your action here is premature, and it is dismissed without prejudice until you go and sell the car. Got it?
Got it.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Bowden versus Lenore. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Officer Bird, would you find out if this gentleman has a medical condition that requires him to have that thing around his head?
Looks like the answer is no.
Thank you very much. It is your claim that the defendant firebombed your car and also cut the wires to your satellite television all over some guy. The defendant says she did no such thing and you're really crazy. I assume this is somebody that you are either with or used to be with, is that right?
Used to be with.
And what's that person's name?
Deontay Crenshaw.
Deontay?
Uh-huh.
Is that person here today?
Mm-hmm. He's over there.
The person with the medical condition?
Yes.
When were you with this gentleman?
Up until she set the car on fire.
And when was that?
June 10th.
Of 2003?
Mm-hmm.
And is that the same date that your satellite dish wires were cut?
Yes.
Now, when was he your boyfriend?
He
He's always been my boyfriend. She was not with him. We lived together. We've been together since '98.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
What do you do for a living?
Account rep at AT&T.
And you?
I lost my job due to her setting the car on fire because I wasn't able to go to work.
So you're not employed now?
No.
What does he do?
He works at Motel 6.
Doing what?
He's head of housekeeping.
What makes you think that she firebombed your car and did all of these other things to your house?
Okay, the car was set on fire Monday night. Sunday, she popped up on my front porch. I don't know how.
She came to your front porch?
Yes, I don't know how she got my address, but she popped up on my front porch. She was trying to plead her case about him and her or whatever.
So you spoke to her directly?
Yes.
That must have been June 9th.
No, you're right.
June 8th.
June 8th?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the right day, June 8th?
June 8th.
So June 8th she came to your house.
Mm-hmm.
And what did she say to you?
She never said her name. She said, I'm Deontay's baby mama.
I'm Beyonce's baby's mama.
Yep, that's what she said.
No, that's not true, Your Honor.
You're going to have a turn in a minute.
That's fine.
And why are you bothering with him?
Huh.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
And you said?
I said, okay, I have nothing to do with your relationship between you and him. We have our own thing, whatever, and that's that.
So that was June 8th?
Mm-hmm.
What happened on June 9th?
June 9th, she was calling, and so when I answered the phone, she said, put Deontay on the phone.
Okay, so she wanted to speak to Deontay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call her house?
No.
Okay, so
I personally went to her house Sunday.
He was at your house?
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
So he was sleeping there.
Mm-hmm.
Why were you sleeping at her house?
Because I was over her house, I was sleeping. I was over there.
Shh, I don't want to hear anything. Stand up. What were you doing over at her house instead of being at home with Miss Lenore and your son?
I was over her house cheating.
Well, actually, I had put him out there Sunday.
Yeah, we wasn't together.
Yeah, so I had put him out Sunday.
Why did you put him out Sunday?
Because the phone calls started coming and I kept telling him, you know, this female keeps calling my house saying she's sleeping with you. If I find out it's true, you know, I don't have any proof, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Sunday, I received a call, I'm sleeping with your man. I took the number off caller ID. I called 411, got the address. I went to her house because my friend stayed down the street. And I told her, look, he's not going to be there anymore. No need for you to call me. I don't need him. I work such and such. I don't need a man to take care of me.
You especially don't need him.
Exactly. So after I confronted her, she said, me and him has this. And I said, well, you know, if you don't mind sleeping with somebody else's man, that's you. But he's no longer going to be with me. So
leave me alone.
Yeah, and I said, he can come live with you now. And that's what I told her.
Now I'd like to hear the proof that you have that the defendant firebombed your car.
I have pictures of the car.
I'll take a look at the pictures. The pictures are one thing. What proof do you have that she did it?
She also told me she did it also because she was calling my house.
That's not true.
She was calling my house.
She's not. I don't believe she told you she did it.
Exactly.
I have a witness right here, my next door neighbor.
Which witness do you have?
Eric. He didn't actually see her set the
Eric,
fire.
you want to stand up here?
Yes, ma'am.
Eric, in your shorts. You thought you were going to a basketball game today. Come up here. Move over there, Eric. Would you post photographs for me, please?
Sure.
Could I say something?
No, I want to hear Eric. And Eric, you're a neighbor?
Yes, I'm a neighbor.
And this firebombing happened in the middle of the night?
Well, on that day, I was doing some drywall for my brother. I do, drywall and lay. I was doing his house. It was like about 2:30 at night. And I happened to go in the back. I seen the young lady out there slicing the tires. So I'm just looking at it, and I'm figuring that it's probably just she ain't got mad at her boyfriend or something, and just cutting the tires. So I'm just standing up there looking at it. So she looked at me, I looked at her, and she went on back down the alley. So I proceeded to keep working. So I figured I was gonna go on there and just close up that night. So I went back on the front. I see her tan car parked across the street right there. And I'm just standing on the porch, and she kind of like looked and kind of sit in her car for a minute, and then she drove off, but I never seen it no more.
So you didn't see her firebomb the car?
No, I didn't see her firebomb come.
Good. Thank you. Sit down.
Your Honor, can I say something, please? Okay.
I'd like your next witness.
This is my roommate. She was there when she popped up on the front. I never called this woman's house or anything like that.
Is there something you're not understanding? I would like you to bring on a witness who saw her firebomb your car. You have anything to contribute to this case at all, or yes or no? The answer is yes or no.
Yes.
Do it fast.
The morning the car that was on fire, my cousin, Lachey, came and woke me up, and I walked up on the back porch. I seen her and Deontay sitting on the back porch looking at the car. He apologizing to my cousin about how his baby mama set the car on fire and what she did or whatever, saying that he was going to help my cousin pay for the car and everything, which he didn't.
Is that right?
I told her I apologized for the car being burnt. What happened to her mama car?
Could you speak slowly so that I could understand this, please? You apologized to who for what?
I apologized to her for her mama car being burnt. I shouldn't apologize if it's supposed to be all over me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Possible somebody else could have firebombed your car. I don't know how many people he was with. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
Nah.
And later today,
It's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I say something, please? The Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
No,
Very good.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lachey Bowden says the mother of her ex-boyfriend's child, Teresa Lenore, firebombed her car.
Is he still living with you?
Not really, no. He keeps our son every day. He comes to my house and keeps him every day while I'm at work.
When does he work?
He works at night and on weekends.
So then, it wasn't true when you said to her that he's not going to be at your house anymore, don't bother to come over, because he is there every day.
Well, not living. That's what I was trying to tell her. You don't have to call to see if he's there, you know.
Where does he live?
At his mom.
So is what you're telling me, you don't have an intimate relationship anymore?
Not anymore, no.
Is that right?
Correct.
Well, Deontay has to be with somebody. And I don't know how many people he was with. He could have been with her. How many people were you with, Deontay?
10.
What?
Just them two.
Nah. It's possible somebody else could have firebombed your car.
No, it was only her. She kept calling and everything. She called my house when he comes to her house. After he leave my house, he goes to her house. She calls me tomorrow, Deontay is here. Then she was hollering him in the background stating, you made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. You made me do it. You shouldn't have lied. She wouldn't have said it if she wouldn't have done it.
Your Honor, can I speak, please?
Yes.
She's lying. There's no way. If I'm going to do something, which is so stupid, I wouldn't tell her that I've done it.
Ms. Lenore, you appear to be an intelligent young woman. The only unintelligent thing that I know about you is him. I don't understand why someone who holds a responsible position, maintains themselves, takes care of their children, why they would do something so crazy as to commit arson, which is really what this is. Because what you're accusing her of is really a criminal act. And I assume you filed a police report.
I have copies.
I would like to see the police report that you filed and their follow-up.
And also, it's my mother's car, and she's still paying on that car.
Stand up here. You. Sit down. You, up here. How long have you known the plaintiff?
Well, I don't really know her.
You knew her enough to come to court with her, is that
Yeah,
right?
somebody told me that she wanted to, talk to me.
Okay. And when did you tell somebody for the first time that you had witnessed somebody slashing her tires?
She had came to me and said, asked me what was my name and stuff like this. I need to talk to you. I'm like,
When?
It was the next day.
Well, this police report is interesting because the police report said that they canvassed the entire area for suspects and witnesses to no avail.
He doesn't live at the apartment next door. He works on
You
the
don't have
apartment
to
next
live
door.
there. You call the police and you say, I have a witness.
Right. I didn't know he said anything when I called the police.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Go ahead.
We went to the police department, and they said, this so-called witness that you say you have, if he's not, a good witness, you all are going to get in trouble for falsifying information. They asked for proof of was she harassing me. She told them I was doing all these things to her. She had no proof. They listened to my answer machine, which I tried to save. It erases after 15 days. They heard all of these threats on my answer machine from her. That day, she was held at jail. They released me. They said she had no proof. I would not do it.
Well, I don't believe that there's sufficient proof to establish to my satisfaction, in any event, the allegations that you make against the defendant, that she firebombed your car, that she cut the wires on your satellite dish. It's possible that she did it. It's also possible that he's got a string of girlfriends that you know absolutely nothing about, who are just as annoyed as she was, in any event. You sound to me, Madam Miss Lenore, as if you deserve better. I don't know if you're going to look for better, but it sounds to me like you deserve somebody who is at least prepared to act responsibly. That's not him. The case is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think she got it basically where she deserved, which was nothing. I didn't do it, and I'm just glad it's over with.
This is not going to end. This is not going to end. She started harassing me about this man. There's a problem. There's something wrong with her.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Neill versus Turner. Step forward, please.
22-year-old warehouse worker Larry O'Neill is suing his former pastor, Bishop Kendrick Turner, for the return of his music equipment. Kendrick says Larry donated the items to the church.
Mr. O'Neill, according to what I read in your complaint, you joined the defendant's church. What kind of church was that?
It was Joe's Outreach Temple.
And did they have a formal place in which they worshipped?
Yes, they worshipped in a building, and then they moved into their house.
You mean their house where they lived?
Yes.
And you had some musical equipment
Yes, ma'am.
that you used and allowed the church to use.
Yes, ma'am.
When you decided to leave the church, you wanted your equipment back, and it's your claim that Mr. Turner stole your equipment. Mr. Turner says that you made a donation to the church, and you can't have it back. What brought you to the defendant's church?
He told me that he was helping people out with music, to do music, gospel music, and I was doing gospel music at the time, and I decided to join his church for him to help me get my music put out, and he told me that he would help me with my music career.
So he's a preacher and an entrepreneur. Do you help people with their music career, sir?
I'm not going to say entrepreneur, but what I do is I help a lot of local gospel artists get out there.
When you say get out there, you mean get out there and
yes,
earn money?
Yes, ma'am.
Being sort of like an agent?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the equipment from, Mr. Turner?
From his house, because he said that the Lord said that he wanted to donate them equipment to the ministry.
Okay. Now, when did he say that, sir?
It was 2003. It had to be in January, ma'am.
Are you a non-for-profit organization?
Yes, we are. We're tax exempt. And
as of when?
As of when, I do not have that.
Give me a year.
It was last year, 2002, when the church started.
And you operate this church out of the house where you live?
Ma'am, we originally...
Just answer my question.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a house is it? What are you looking it up for? You live there.
I'm not sure about the size, ma'am.
How many bedrooms does it have?
We have 2 bedrooms, yes, ma'am.
And the church operates out of what room?
Out of the front room, ma'am.
Now, where do you do your agenting?
What I do is I normally run ads and stuff in the paper, and I allow people to come to my home.
So you do both your agenting work, sir, and your ministry work out of the front room in your house, in
yes,
your 2-bedroom house?
Yes, ma'am.
When was it that Mr. O'Neill made the donation? January of 2003?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was it that Mr. O'Neill...
It wasn't January.
Well, step up and tell me what date it was. You're his wife, so you probably have a better memory.
It was, because I keep the records, it was January when he came into the ministry, but it was around April. It was a couple of months after that.
So it was April that he made the donation?
Right.
Thank you. Sit down. And when was it, Mr. Turner, that Mr. O'Neill asked for his property back?
It was just recently ago.
So that would have been about a month later?
Yes, ma'am.
1 month later, he asked for it back?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, why, Mr. O'Neill, did you ask for your equipment back, sir?
Because it belongs to me.
And you were no longer interested in being part of the ministry?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
How old are you, Mr. O'Neill?
22 years old.
Have you ever been under psychiatric care?
I have supposed to been going for medical treatment.
What kind of medical treatment, Mr. O'Neill?
For a psychiatric problem.
Are you currently taking any medication?
No, ma'am.
How you doing? Are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty fine.
Are you living with your parents?
I'm about to start. I just moved out on my own, and my parents, I think they want me to stay with them, so I might stay back home with them.
Okay. You're his father? Yes. Would you step up here for a second, Mr. O'Neill? Your
No,
last,
no, baby,
no.
baby, go ahead.
Who purchased this musical equipment for him?
Well, we all purchased it together, but it was his equipment. And actually, when it left my home, I had no knowledge that it left.
When are you planning on having your son come home to live
He's
with
been
you?
home for the last 3 weeks right now. I have an appointment for him for psychiatric help on the 10th of this month.
Okay.
And I have him close to home.
Very good. I'm glad to hear that. Mr. Turner, I want you to listen to me very, very carefully,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am.
3 days from today, Mr. O'Neill and his son are coming to pick up all of his musical equipment. You will have it all ready for them. Do you understand me?
Yes, ma'am. I have no problem with that, ma'am.
Very good. I am not suggesting that you took advantage of Mr. O'Neill, and certainly someone who is a minister would not want to take advantage of someone who was not necessarily in a psychological position to make a gift. Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good.
Can I say something, please? Because I think I do not have the right to give that back, because he said the Lord. He said that the Lord said. You know, I take that verse seriously when somebody said the Lord said. You know,
I want you to take this more seriously, Mr. Turner. I say that you're supposed to return it 3 days from today. Do we understand each other?
I have no problem
Good.
with that.
That's all.
Excuse me, Miss. Yeah, this is case number 227 on the calendar in the matter of Skinner versus Wilson. Good,
Thank
Judge.
you.
How you doing? Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Skinner, you hired the defendant's daughter to house sit for you. You were going away on vacation?
A 3-day weekend.
And it is your claim that while the defendant's daughter was there, some items were stolen from your house, totaling almost $5,000. And also that the defendant's daughter threw a party, used your car without your permission, but primarily the car wasn't damaged or destroyed. Primarily you just want the value of the items that were stolen. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're suing her mother?
Yes, ma'am.
Because she's a minor. How old are you?
I'm 17 now.
Why don't you stand up next to your mother? Maybe 17, but you're taller than your mom. So why don't you tell me how you found this young lady to house sit for you?
Well, we worked together, and I felt since I worked with her, I could trust her daughter that nothing would happen to my house while we were gone for a few days. So we made the arrangement, and I paid them $40.
Who did you make the arrangement with?
Both of them.
Well, tell me where that took place, when it took place, when did you go away?
Okay. I made the arrangement partially with Natasha at work, and then they all came over to the house, and we went through where all the medicine for the animals were and how they were to be taken care of.
You mean Miss Wilson brought her daughter over to your house?
Yes, ma'am.
Had you met her daughter before?
Yes, ma'am.
And when she brought her over to the house, it wasn't agreed upon that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there to house sit, only her daughter?
It was also agreed that on one particular night, Natasha and her husband was going to come over, and they were going to be at the house, watch movies with the girls, and that they would be supervised at all times.
What do you mean they would be supervised at all times?
She would be watching the house and checking on them, because she would be going to the house twice a day.
So is what you're telling me, Miss Skinner, that you made arrangements with Miss Wilson that her daughter was going to sleep at the house and take care of your animals?
Correct.
How many animals do you have?
3.
But that Mrs. Wilson was going to be there twice a day and was also going to spend one night at the house with her husband.
Actually, what it was is she was going to be there twice a day to check on it, because she was going to pick Christina up, take her to work in the morning, leave her son there to stay at the house during the day. Then when Christina got off, she would take Christina back to the house, pick up her son so the house would never be empty.
So she was just doing a chauffeuring service. She wasn't going there to check on the house. She was going to drop off and pick up her children who were house sitting.
Right.
All right, well, that's different.
Well.
And you may have felt comfortable that she was going to be there, but that wasn't twice a day checking on the house, Miss Skinner.
Okay.
Right?
I felt as a friend she was going to do that, yes.
And that's a favor. But that's not what she was doing. She said, I'll make sure the house is covered with my children so it won't be vacant. Okay, what day did you leave?
Friday,
August 2nd.
August 2nd.
What was your arrangement with Christina with regard to friends?
We had agreed, so that she wouldn't be alone since she didn't know the area, that one friend could stay with her at night. That way she wouldn't be alone in a neighborhood she didn't know.
Good. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Did you have more than one friend over?
Yes.
How many friends did you have over, Christina?
A total of 3.
Including you?
No, without me. I was the 4th.
And what were these friends doing at your house?
It was my best friend, one of my best friends, Brandy's birthday. So we picked her up and we were just sitting there watching TV and just talking. And
so there were 4 of you all together?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have a copy of the police report, a copy of citations that she was issued in my car at 4:15 in the morning in Arlington.
What were you doing in her car, Christina?
I had taken it to drive back to Arlington to pick up friends, and that was the time when I was taking Brandy and Courtney back home.
What were you doing riding in her car?
I used it to go pick up friends.
Well, you weren't allowed to do that, right?
Right.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
May I say something?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, before we even agreed to this, she knew my daughter did not have a license to drive. And prior to that, I had asked her, whatever you do, please do not let her have the key. We've talked about this at work, and we talked about it again once we made it to her house for everybody to meet. I didn't know until after all these happened that she had given my child the keys to her car, in case of emergency, mind you, which I understand. But she's 16.
Just a second. You gave her the keys to your car?
We left the keys at the house because they had the house keys and the car keys. In case of emergency, if the house was on fire, the car needed to be moved.
I told her I was 15 minutes away.
They were
Just a second,
on
Miss
the
Wilson.
kitchen table.
Miss Wilson.
I know.
You're not suggesting to me that it's their fault that your daughter took the car.
No, but...
Good! I didn't think you were.
No, wait a second.
But
they should have known better, though. She knew she didn't have a key. She didn't have a driver's license. She barely knew how to drive. She was 16.
Do you see my mouth moving?
Your Honor?
Do you see my mouth moving?
Yes, ma'am.
The fact that items may have turned up missing in that house may have absolutely nothing to do with you. However, don't even suggest to me that you think in some warped way that it's her fault that your daughter got behind the wheel of a car and drove her friends around at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't tell me it's somebody else's fault that she did the wrong thing. Just pay attention. Pay attention. It's not somebody else's fault. It's her fault. It may not be your fault, but it's her fault, not hers.
She helped create the situation by giving her the key. She's 16. Who's the adult? Her or her? She should have known better. If I had somebody watching my house, I already know the story. She doesn't have a driver's license. It's 2 teenagers. I am not going to hand her the key.
You see this table?
Got it.
Do you remember the title of my second book?
Beauty fades, dumb is forever.
That's the title. You don't get it. It's not her fault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda and George Skinner are suing Natasha Wilson for the cost of 7 rifles. The Skinners claim the guns were stolen while Natasha's daughter was watching the house.
Let's say she didn't hand her the car keys and the house keys all on one ring, but your daughter went into her dresser drawer and found the keys. You would be standing there saying to me, she should have taken her keys with her. She's a 16-year-old girl. You can't expect a 16-year-old girl to be responsible enough not to succumb to temptation and use a car. That's really what you're saying to me, right?
I think
is that what you're saying? Just answer me yes or no. I don't need a whole speech from you. Okay. Well, then if that's what you thought, you shouldn't have said that your daughter was responsible enough to stay in her home and be paid. Because if someone can't be trusted, I don't care if they're 10 or 12 or 14 or 16, they can't be trusted. So what you're saying is you don't trust your daughter. You don't trust your daughter not to succumb to temptation and to do the wrong thing. Is that what you're telling me? Is that the way you were brought up? Well,
no,
that's
ma'am,
unfortunate.
I was not brought up that way.
That's unfortunate. If you don't trust your daughter not to do the right thing, then you should not say to these people, my daughter is responsible enough to stay in your home. Because the car is one thing, but there are other things in the home. There were 3 animals there, and if she's not responsible enough not to use a car that she's not been given permission to use, she's not responsible enough to make sure that 3 animals are taken care of. So that if you had some idea that your daughter was irresponsible, you should have told her, I'm sorry, my 16-year-old daughter is not responsible. I will not allow her to stay in your home. You didn't say that. You led her to believe your daughter was responsible enough to oversee.
But there were conditions to that, though.
I'm speaking. Was responsible enough to oversee her home and her dogs. That still doesn't make you liable. All I'm doing now is giving you a hard time because you don't get it through your head that it's not her fault, but her fault. We understand each other? Good. Now we understand each other. Now, you also found that other items were missing.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Items were missing, such as some rifles.
Yes, ma'am.
And a whole bunch of other stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
She's not responsible. She's responsible, but she's a minor.
Correct.
You have the ability to select someone responsible to take care of your home. And if you selected her, and if something happened in your home, you can't say her parents are responsible. You can't.
I would just like to for you to see this, to give you an idea that how long she had somebody in our home.
I don't care. She knew she did the wrong thing. This isn't somebody who's saying to me, I thought I could use it, that it was okay. She knew she did the wrong thing. Only her mother's making excuses. But her mother is not responsible for what she stole, or her friend stole, or somebody else took from the house when she left the house open, when she took her friends home at 4 o'clock in the morning. Her mother's not responsible. And under the law, you can't collect any money from her. So what you have to do, and what everybody has to do, if they decide to leave their home and entrust their home to somebody, you make sure that person is not a minor. So if things come up missing, you have somebody to sue. But you can't say, listen, I have to blame somebody. You have to blame yourself. She's a teenager, and when you leave teenagers in a house, unsupervised, 24 hours a day, trouble happens. I remember leaving my teenage children in a house, and we were just gone for an overnight, and these were not babies, and getting a call that there was a huge party. What kind of party? 35 people in a party. You don't do that. When you leave teenagers in a house, you never know what happens. When they have an empty house, it's party time. You know, the word goes out over the waves. Now they goes over internet. Party time. Bottom line is, you didn't hire her, nor did you pay her. The only arrangement that you had with Miss Wilson was she was going to drop off and pick up her children so that the house would be covered all the time by her children. You have a responsibility to select the right people to take care of your house. If you don't blame somebody else.
Actually, I paid Natasha.
Did you pay her to give to her children? Or did you just give her the money?
I gave her the money to do...
Ms. Skinner, you're pressing it. She was not in charge of your house. Her 16-year-old daughter was in charge of your house. That's who you left in charge of your home.
Yes.
And if you chose to do that, and if she did the wrong thing, her mother is not responsible. You can't sue her. And she's not legally responsible. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I feel like because she had given her the key, she was able to get in that car, go pick up her friends, and have a little get-together.
Till today, they never admitted that they even left the house or that there was anybody else there besides the two girls.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Carroll versus Lampron, step forward, please.
23-year-old sales manager Jeff Carroll is suing ultrasound technician Paula Lampron for damage to his car after he ran over her dog. Paula claims Jeff was speeding. She is countersuing for the death of her pet.
Mr. Carroll, you were driving your car down the street, and it is your claim that the defendant's dog, which was unleashed, slammed into your car, causing damage. Ms. Lampron said that you were speeding. You had to have been speeding down the street. I'm not sure whether you saw him. Is that right?
I didn't see him.
Didn't see him. But you had to have been speeding down the street when you hit her dog, and as a result of that, her dog was killed. I think the dog had to be put to sleep.
Yes, it did.
And you are counterclaiming for the value of the dog.
And the vet bill.
And the vet bills. Okay. Mr. Carroll, describe this street to me. Tell me what it looks like. Is it a highway? Is it a 2-lane street, 4-lane street?
It's a 2-lane street. It's very narrow. It's a residential area. 30 miles an hour is the posted speed limit.
What happened?
I was proceeding at the speed limit, 30 miles an hour down the road, when all of a sudden a loud crash to the passenger side. I looked in my mirrors. I didn't see anything. I pulled over, saw that it was a dog. I was in severe trauma. I saw Paula. She asked me to help. I said, sure. We helped get the dog into the truck.
Into whose truck?
Into the back of her truck. The dog
What kind of a dog was this?
A golden retriever. We got the dog loaded up, and she proceeded to the animal hospital.
And what happened to the animal hospital?
And the veterinarian helped me get it out of the truck. He said the injury was extremely severe, and he would do anything he could to save her. He called me and told me that there'd be no chance of her recovery, and she was
What was she doing without a leash, Miss Lampron?
I have 2 golden retrievers, mother and son. That was the mother. And I was just leaving my house to do errands. Both dogs were sitting by the side of my truck, waiting to get in.
Unleashed?
Yes, but on my property.
But unleashed?
Yes. And they don't run. They're under my control. However, the female dog is very obsessed with her ball, and she had a ball in her mouth. The ball dropped out, and she ran to the end of the driveway to catch it, to get her ball. And it just happened in a split second.
Well, the end of your driveway is not where this happened. He wasn't driving in your driveway.
No, he wasn't driving in my driveway,
Right,
but he
so
was driving very
ball-
close to the road, and I have pictures of the end of my driveway where my dog was. My dog was not out in the middle of the street, Your Honor.
He didn't say it was out in the middle of the street. The dog hit his car as it was coming down the street. Can I see the photographs of the damage to your car?
Actually, photographs of her property as well with it.
What kind of car is this, sir?
It's a Toyota Supra,
What year?
1993,
What's your deductible?
$500.
You still have the car?
No, I do not, actually.
Why not?
I sold it.
When?
Actually, 3 days before I came here, I just got all the bodywork finished. And
You have the paid bill?
no, the deductible covered. I mean, my insurance covered it. You know, basically.
You have the name of the place where you took your car to be fixed?
Custom imports.
You have your insurance paperwork?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. How much did you sell the car for?
$20,000.
$20,000?
They don't make the car anymore. It's it had a lot of additions to the car. It wasn't stock.
When did you purchase the car?
2 years ago.
And how much did you pay for the car?
$17,000.
So you made $3,000 on the car.
Not really. I put a lot more into it over the 2 years.
This is an estimate, is that right?
No, that's what I got from my insurance company.
Okay. Custom imports.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you took the car to be fixed?
Yes.
You know anybody who works there?
Yep, Tori is who I deal with.
And in what month did you have this car fixed?
It's April.
What made you wait from January to April?
I had to save some money.
And so you actually paid the $500 deductible?
Yes, I did.
And who did you pay that to?
To the custom imports.
And how did you pay them?
Cash.
Really? You gave them cash? You have a receipt from them that you gave them $500 in cash?
No, I did not.
Why not? Didn't they give you a receipt when you paid the bill?
Not really. It's kind of a friend who did it.
You understand where I'm going with you, sir?
Yes.
You got my drift?
Yes.
Perfect. As long as we understand each other. You know what my father used to say?
You want me to grab one out of the air? What he used to say?
He used to say to me, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining.
Okay.
Your dog hit his car. Your dog was off the leash. It's your fault. That's it. Unless you can establish to my satisfaction, which you can't because you didn't see him, that he was exceeding the speed limit and that is the reason that this happened. And it really isn't. But the reason it happened is that your dog was off the leash. Because your dog hit his car, the side of his car, according to this. I see some damage in the picture that he handed me that had nothing to do with the dog. Mm-hmm. Certainly, Bird, this doesn't look like it had anything to do with the dog, right?
No.
Right? The dent, maybe, but not this part.
Right.
Right. So, you understand, you have no claim, no legitimate claim against the plaintiff. And since the plaintiff, even if I believed what he said about taking it to his friend Tori at this place, who's a good friend who took care of the car for him, and he actually paid him $500 in cash for which he has no receipt, I find that he made $3,000 on the car, and as far as I'm concerned, that's all he's going to make. Case is dismissed, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step. That's case number 270 on the calendar in the matter of Ransom versus McCaffrey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Ransom, it is your claim that the defendant owes you some money for work that you did in his landscaping business?
Yes, you're right, Your Honor.
You were a day worker for him?
Yes, I was.
How long did you work for him? From when to
Total
when?
of 3 weeks.
And how much were you supposed to be paid?
I was supposed to be paid $9 an hour.
How much money do you claim he owes you?
He owes me for 39 hours plus $25 that he didn't pay me from the previous week.
Okay. Then you also say that when you tried to collect the money, Mr. McCaffrey called the house where you were living, and you're living in a clean and sober home environment?
Yes, I am.
You formerly had a drug or alcohol problem?
Yes, I did.
What kind of problem was it?
It was a cocaine problem, Your Honor, and at the time I felt that I needed help. I was clean and sober at the time that I did put myself into the program, and because I want to stay clean. And so,
how long had you been there?
I've been there now a total of 3.5 months.
How long were you there when you went to work for Mr. McCaffrey?
I was there for about a month and a half.
And it is your claim that when you tried to collect this money that you claim Mr. McCaffrey owes you, Mr. McCaffrey called the home where you were living and spoke to the director there and slandered you.
He did that.
Okay. Mr. McCaffrey says the following, that he paid you everything that he owed you, and he's kept a record of that, and that he never slandered you to anybody. Is that right, sir?
Your Honor, he is owed money. I have a check for his final pay.
Okay.
And I called to get an address to mail the check.
So that was the only phone call you made, just to get an address where to send the check, and you made no other statements to anyone about the plaintiff?
I did make a statement about the plaintiff to be aware that he, on the job, he had shown me photographs of a pornographic nature and asked me to be involved in matters which I didn't want to be involved in a sexual nature. And
well, why don't you be more specific? He showed you photographs. Sir, what kind of photographs did he show you?
Nude photographs in compromising sexual positions of himself in various...
Of himself?
Yes.
With other people?
Yes, ma'am.
Men or women?
Women.
And what kind of a proposition did he make to you, sir, when he showed you these photographs?
Said, this is my portfolio if you're interested.
This is my portfolio if you're interested. What did you think he meant by that?
I presume that you wanted to involve me in things of a sexual nature, and I was not interested.
Well, these pictures didn't show Mr. Ransom with other men. It showed him with women.
Correct.
So what did you think he wanted you to do? He said, this is my portfolio if you're interested. I'm serious.
I'm absolutely serious, too. I don't know what his entire intent was, and he didn't explain that, but I know it's something I didn't want to get involved in.
Mr. Ransom.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever show him any photographs that were funny?
No, ma'am, I have not.
And you have a check for how much for him, Mr. McCaffrey?
I have a check for $25.
What about the 39 hours that he claims you owe him?
Some of those, I have a journal which I kept, and I did pay him in cash. I wanted to pay in check. He insisted on having cash. I did pay what cash I could. There are some days that he claimed that he worked that we didn't work because the dump wasn't open. I'm in dispute with his record keeping.
All right, let me see his record keeping. Let me see the records of when you say you worked, sir.
The dates are here, Your Honor. They're documented down here.
I see where he says he worked 12 hours on August 11th, 9 hours on August 10th, 9 hours on August.
I have flagged the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, which was a Sunday, and there's no dump open, and the 11th right here in my journal.
Okay. And that was the 11th was his last day of work?
No, I don't think so. It could have been the 12th, but he left early that day, and there was an argument that day, and he took the bus home. Left, right. The last record I have of a cash payment was on the 11th.
Well, if you listen to me, Mr. McCaffrey, you say you kept accurate records of these cash payments. Now you tell me that you had an argument with him on the 12th. The 11th couldn't have been his last day because you didn't pay him on the day that you had the argument with him when he left. So that couldn't have been the 11th because the 11th you said you paid him, according to your note to yourself, in cash.
I agree, absolutely. That's the last time. But I can't say for sure if the Tuesday was the last day or if there was a day lapsed in between that because I don't have any entries after that.
So clearly there was several hours that he did work for you that are unaccounted for in your journal.
Right. Right. There could
Well,
be.
how many hours? Was it 8 hours? Was it 7 hours?
No, he showed up in the morning and I showed up later with another fella and another friend of mine. This would have been about 10 or 11 o'clock, and I came to find there was a broken chainsaw on the job. I asked who did it, and that's where our argument ensued.
Okay. Mr. Ransom.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's move away from the hourly work that you say you're entitled to. I think that it's probably someplace in between. All right. Your primary accusation is for this slander that you say. Do you have any witnesses to this slander,
Yes,
sir?
yes, Your Honor. I do have the assistant directors here.
What's that person's name?
Carol Martinez.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes, she is the person that received the call.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He said Mr. Ransom showed up under the influence of drugs. He brought drugs to work. He tried to get me involved in his drug lord thing, and he continued on and on.
And later today,
she did not stop at the stop sign. She accelerated the car, and the ball bounced up and hit the car window.
Noel, what you just gave me was a whole lot of Who Shot John.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Cleve Ransom says his former employer, Kevin McCaffrey, is withholding his wages. Cleve also claims that Kevin slandered him to his counselor at a sober living house.
Ms. Martinez, did there come a time when you received a call from Mr. McCaffrey wanting to know the address of the home that you direct?
Yes, ma'am. I received a call on the morning of August 18th. The gentleman on the phone, at first he didn't identify himself. He asked me for the address to our facility. I then inquired to why do you need our address, because I not only have male clients, or I have women clients there. He stated to me that he was Cleve Ransom's former boss and that he had mailed a check prior, the week prior, and Mr. Ransom claimed he never got it, and that he wanted to send a check to our facility for Mr. Ransom certified mail. So I gave him the address, and before I could hang up, he asked me, do you do room searches there? And I said, sir, why would you inquire about room searches? He said, well, Mr. Ransom brought sexual explicit pictures to work of all your female clients and all different sexual positions, and I wanted you to be aware that that is going on in your facility. I said, that is not going on in my facility, and we would never tolerate any sexual misconduct. And then he said, well, do you do drug testing? And I inquired again as to why would you ask me about drug testing? He said, well, Mr. Ransom showed up under the influence of drugs. He brought drugs to work. He tried to get me involved in his drug lord thing, and he continued on and on. I left my office with a cordless phone and walked out of my office. My office is there at the facility, and walked upstairs, and I rang Mr. Ransom's doorbell. And when he opened it, I pushed my speakerphone on the thing. He continued for about another minute and a half, telling me how he's a manipulator, a con artist, that he's not fit to be in society, that I need to be careful of what he's doing to our females. And so I ended the conversation. I then contacted the executive director, who was out of town, and I said to her, you know, I got this phone conversation. What do I do about it? She said that I needed to place Mr. Ransom on a 2-week total restriction to the facility, and that I needed to conduct a complete room search, drug testing. I needed to interview some of our long-term clients that have been there, our female clients that have been there for a while. So I did that. Mr. Ransom was placed on a total restriction. I conducted drug test, a random drug test on him, 6 to be exact, during that 2-week period. And I did a complete room search of his room 3 different occasions. I never found any photographs. He passed every single drug test, and Mr. Ransom never received anything certified mail from Mr. McCaffrey.
Do you want to respond further with regard to Ms. Martinez's statement about the extent of your conversation with her?
The validity of the statement, yes, it's false. It's primarily false as far as going on for an hour and a half. I did
You shouldn't say you went on for an hour.
Or a minute, I'm sorry, a minute and a half. And I did warn her of the pictures that he had brought to work and the nature of his activity at work, which I thought
which was what?
Was inappropriate. Pornographic photos.
I'm asking you, sir, about the drug testing.
Oh, drug testing. I have no clue what she's talking about drug testing, and I can respond.
Did you ever say to her that he's a lowlife and he shouldn't be in society?
Absolutely not.
Did he say that to you?
Yes, ma'am. And when I had it on speakerphone, and Mr. Ransom heard it also.
She says you made those statements. I don't see that she has any particular axe to grind, sir. I also question the validity of part of your defense, because you said to me that the reason you had an argument with the plaintiff was because you were asked who broke a chainsaw. That resulted in an altercation with Mr. Ransom, and he left. That's what you said caused all the problems. Whereas in your sworn answer to his complaint, you say that the reason that he became angry is because you insisted on paying him by check and he wanted to be paid in cash, that he became abusive and walked off the job. So you couldn't even get your story straight between your answer and today. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount requested, $2,700. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Some of his work was very good. I was also satisfied with the fact that we were very friendly at one point. I did buy him 2 pair of boots. I did buy him lunches. I was as friendly as I could afford to be.
He actually wanted to get me booted out of the program from the beginning.
Why would you show someone pornographic photographs unless you're interested in getting him involved in that type of lifestyle, which I want no part of?
Went out the door when he started just yelling, "I'm not a kid. I'm old enough to be his father." And he don't respect that.
We all live with the consequences of what we do, and we all know what the real truth is in our lives.
Thank Judge Judy for justice.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Greenwood versus Crutchley. Step forward, please.
Philip and Heather Greenwood are suing Gary and Berland Crutchley and their daughter, 15-year-old Noelle. Heather claims Noelle damaged her car with a basketball.
Noelle, you were playing basketball with a friend, is that right?
Yes.
What's your friend's name?
Blair Cooney.
Is that this young lady right here?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were you playing basketball?
At my friend Blair's house.
Tell me what happened. Tell me how it came about that the basketball that you had in your hands ended up breaking her car mirror.
Well, I was playing basketball with my friend Blair, and...
Now listen to me, before you start, Noelle, I want to tell you, I don't care what you've told your mother, I don't care what you've told your father, I don't care what you told your friends, okay? Now you're going to tell me.
Yes, ma'am.
So just forget anything that you told them in the past. Put it out of your mind.
Okay.
Now you're telling me.
Well, I was saying that I was playing basketball with my friend Blair, and I saw a car coming. So I thought I had time because there's a stop sign, and usually when there's a stop sign, you stop. So I shot the basket when the car is coming to the stop sign, but she did not stop at the stop sign. She proceeded, and then I went to the basket to get the ball after I shot it, but then instead of slowing down, she accelerated the car, and the ball hit the bottom of the curb and then bounced up and hit the car window. And then she stopped and got out of her car, and the first thing she said to me was, and slammed her door, and it really upset me when she said that, and she was yelling.
That's terrible. Quiet. Let me hear.
I was driving down the street not far from our house, and I came up to a stop sign, and I see Noelle and her friend playing about 100 feet from the stop sign. And I myself have a 2-year-old daughter in the car with me. And when I saw the girls, I stopped at the stop sign, noticed where they were at, and made my left-hand turn. And all of a sudden, this ball just comes crashing into my mirror, breaking the mirror. So I stop the car, put it in park, walk around the car, pick up the mirror, and I tell Noelle, I say, maybe you should be more careful about playing in the street.
Well, I'm sure that it was a little more angry than that. Right?
Well, when the ball hit my...
Right?
Maybe a little bit.
Uh-huh. Okay. Noelle, what you just gave me was a whole lot of who shot John. That means I don't believe you. How old are you?
I'm 15.
15. Do you babysit?
Not mostly, but sometimes I do, yes.
Well, good. You should start to babysit because your parents have to take care of this mirror. I mean, it's a mirror. It's not a big deal. What?
I'd just like to say that she, numerous amount of times, said that I kicked the ball at the car. And then when she got out of the car...
You did.
Shh. And then when I got out of the car, it's one of those swivel mirrors, so it swiveled in when the ball hit it, and the mirror popped out. It did not break. It popped out. And when she got out of the car, she was jamming it in, trying to fix it, but she could have done more damage by jamming it in like that. And
so it was her fault?
No, I'm not.
Is that what you're telling me?
No.
It's her fault. What do you want to say, sir?
When children are playing in the street, wouldn't someone slow down to try and make sure that something like this didn't happen so that the kids weren't endangered?
Listen to me. Your daughter wasn't in danger. Your daughter wasn't in danger.
What happens if the ball hit the curb and bounced up?
What if? What if when I was born, my parents had been taller? I would have been taller. Don't give me a what if. What if is your 15-year-old daughter, who is almost as tall as you are, was playing ball with her friend and wasn't careful, and because she wasn't careful, the ball hit the plaintiff's car. Now, hit the plaintiff's car, and it could have spooked her. She had a 2-year-old in the car. She could have hit your daughter. She could have hit your daughter. I'm speaking! She could have hit your daughter's friend. But that's not what happened. You want to stand up? Stand up. See? No, sir, I'm not finished with you. See these two girls? See these two girls? They're both taller than I am. So they may be 15 years old, but they're not babies. Don't treat them like babies. Your daughter made a mistake. It's not a big mistake.
Well, that's the way I felt. It wasn't
not a big mistake, but she caused the damage. She's old enough to pay for it.
We never saw a bill. We never once saw anything that proved that this mirror was broken other than it fell off.
Just a second, Mr. Crutchley. When she first called you and you said you'd get back to her, did you then, you or your wife, tell her you lost her number?
No.
Who told you they lost your phone number? He did. And did you get right back to her?
No, I did not.
Well, is that acting responsibly, sir?
I didn't know what to do. I was trying to figure out what should be done. It wasn't clear cut to me. It wasn't black and white.
So then why don't you say to her, it's really not clear cut to me?
That's what I said.
No, it's really not. Can we get together? You're a neighbor. You live close by. I mean, we live in the same neighborhood. Let's see what happened. Or did you just sort of put her off?
I put her off.
Right. That's why she got annoyed. Because you put her off. Because what you should have done, sir, put your hand down. Because you think your parents may believe this crap story that you gave them. I do not. I do not believe that she failed to stop at a stop sign. I do not believe that she saw you and accelerated trying to hit you. Believe me, she didn't want to hit you. She didn't want to damage her car. Now, can I see what it cost you to fix the car, please?
$33, I believe. These are the two receipts for the part and the installation.
$229.23, I believe, Your Honor.
Yeah, this is case number 356 on the calendar in the matter of Davis versus Peach. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Davis, according to what I read, you hired Mr. Peach to do some cement work at your house. And it is your claim that he was discharged by you for cause, and that when he left a whole pile of debris there, which caused you to fall, which caused you to injure yourself, and you want him to pay for all of your medical bills, your pain and suffering as a result of falling on your own property.
Yes.
Mr. Peach says that he was discharged for no reason. He's counterclaiming for breach of contract. So first I'd like to see the contract, and then I'd like to see a picture of your house.
Okay. Your Honor, I did not get a contract. I got an invoice. That's all I ever got. I never got the contract. I asked him for it repeatedly.
You have a copy of the contract, sir.
But I never got a contract.
So
I will give you what he gave me. I'm sorry.
Pictures?
Sure. Pictures.
All right. What were you supposed to do, Mr. Peach?
It started out that I was supposed to put in a concrete sidewalk, and it evolved from putting in a patio to grading to moving debris from her backyard to build a gravel type of thing to keep the water from coming into her backyard.
Okay. When did you first go there and give her an estimate?
Well, the first time she called us to come at 10 o'clock to give her an estimate. I arrived
10 o'clock on what date, sir?
The 16th of July. Well, when I got there, she says, you're a half hour early. And she scolded me for being a half hour early. I apologized that I was there early, and she showed me what was to be done.
Did you negotiate a price with her?
Yeah.
What was the price?
The initial price was $1,600 to put in the concrete.
So far, is that correct?
No, ma'am.
All right. What was the price that you...
$1,200 for 80 feet of sidewalk.
Now, Miss Davis, why didn't you get this quote from him, $1,200 for 80 feet of sidewalk in a contract.
I repeatedly asked him for that, and I said, when you come back...
Not repeatedly. You didn't have to repeat it.
Well, that time, I asked him the first day.
Listen to me.
When I say repeat... Okay, I'm sorry.
He came on the 16th. He told you $1,200 for 80 feet. You said, when you come back with the materials, I accept your price. You bring me a contract. You bring me a proof of insurance. When did he come back?
He came back that afternoon.
Okay, what did he come back with?
He came back with a crew, one guy.
Well, a crew, that's a mini crew.
A mini crew. That's
a mini crew.
A mini crew. He
came back with a mini crew, one person, and he had materials.
No, he did not have materials.
What did he have?
He didn't have anything but himself and this one person, this one crew member.
So?
And Mr. Peach, where is the legal papers? And he said, I don't have them. I was at another site. I will get them for you this afternoon. And I said, I won't. He said, can we start the work? I will only allow you to start the work if I will get these papers. He said, I promise you. I want to start the work, and then this afternoon, when I leave my other site, I will bring those papers. So he left this one crew member there.
He left one person there.
He only had one, who started breaking up my 80 feet of sidewalk. Mr. Peach never returned that afternoon. The next morning, Mr. Peach came. He said, I need to have half down. At that time, it was $1,200. I said, fine, but that's only with the promise of this.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So you gave him $600.
I gave him $700, and I have proof of the canceled check.
Okay.
Because I added the patio to the job, which now was $150.
How big a patio?
It's I think it's 12 by 14. I have the
12 by 14 for $100?
$150. This is what he quoted. On that invoice, we added the patio for $150. So now the bill is $1,350. So I wrote a $700 half down, which is his requirement, check. And the work continued. And they finished it. They tore it all out and finished that part. All right, now that was on Thursday. On Friday morning, Mr. Peach came, and he had a flatbed on his truck. He loaded up his Bobcat. They were in the alley. I ran out, and I said, Mr. Peach, legal papers, contract, I want it now. I'll be right back, and I dropped this off to another site. Mr. Peach never came back, ever.
Okay, now I'm hearing you, sir.
The first day, she ordered the job done. I brought one crew, one member. He ripped out the sidewalk. He put it into a pile. We hauled it away that following morning. Okay, and then she said we could only work her hours. And that was at 10 o'clock. And I thought, well, okay, this is okay. I'll try. I understand she's a single woman, and she didn't want nobody on her property as long as she was there. Okay, then she wanted to add the patio, and I said that'd be another $1,150.
Who wrote this out?
He did.
I did.
It says patio, $150.
No, it should be $1,150.
Well, that's not what you wrote here,
sorry.
sir.
I made a mistake.
Mr.
He's
Peach,
lying.
Mr. Peach, do you understand the problem? I
Yes.
mean, $150 is sort of ridiculous to
Yes,
do a
it
whole
is.
patio. That's why I looked at her and I said, was she crazy? $150 to do a patio is stupid. You know, that's
Should be
clearly a
$1,150.
mistake.
I
It
didn't
should be
think it was going to come
$1,150.
to court.
Well, listen to me, sir. This is your contract. You
Yes.
wrote it out for want of. You acknowledge you wrote this out. It says patio, $150.
Yes, I realize that. Anyway, so then she calls me up and says she cannot work today because she was not going to be there. But I came out anyway, and she was there. But we could only work basically about a half hour, 45 minutes, because she was going to leave.
He's lying.
So,
Shh. Don't speak. Go ahead.
So we continued working, and then I asked her, I said, now, do you want me to remove this debris? And she said yes. And every time I would leave to get material, she would have this other guy, one of my workers, doing work for her. And I'd come back, and I'd say, well, how come this...
I told you not to speak.
I said, you know, I can't work like this. Every time I leave him here, he's supposed to be doing his job forming up for the concrete. I cannot work if you start telling these people what to do. I said, there's only one boss on the job, and that's me. She became dissatisfied and told us to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Show me the contract.
I don't have it.
Mr. Peach, do Do you have a drinking problem?
No, I don't.
I think something's wrong. Something's not wrapped too tight up here.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teacher Yvette Davis is suing contractor Douglas Peach for breach of contract and for damages resulting from work done to her home. Douglas is countersuing, claiming Yvette breached their contract.
Did she ask you for a contract, sir, and for proof of insurance?
Yes, she did, and I showed her my contract and my proof of insurance.
Well, you just show me the contract.
I don't have it. I didn't think to bring it.
You have a counterclaim for breach of contract, and you didn't think to bring the contract?
Well, I didn't think she was going to sue me.
Mr. Peach, do you have a drinking problem?
No, I don't.
No, I'm serious with you.
No,
That's
I
not,
don't.
It's not a joke.
I don't.
Because if you're a business, and you've been in business a while?
Yes.
You've been in business for a while, sir. And if what you're telling me is that you're an intelligent man, and if you're telling me that you didn't think it was important to bring a contract that you say you have to court, I think something's wrong. Something's not wrapped too tight up here. You're missing something. Do you understand?
I understand very.
All right. Now, Miss Davis, now we're going to get to you. What are you suing him for?
It's threefold. Breach of contract. I did stop the work, at least when they came back on the 18th of July. I would not allow any work to continue because there was no contract. On the 24th of July, he came out. We actually wrote it up. I wrote down everything that I needed to have done.
Can I see it, please?
And this is where he quoted me $1,600. And I said, Mr. Peach, when will you come back and continue the work? He said, I will come back on Monday. Monday came and no one showed up. I haven't been able to reach him or seen him.
Did you have somebody else finish the backyard?
Yes, I hired someone in September. I have all of that.
Good.
That I,
Can I see what you did in September? Shh, just show it to me.
Okay, let me.
So somebody else came and finished the job.
I hired another contractor, canceled checks, and the whole bill, the whole contract is there. I'm sorry.
According to you, Mr. Peach gave you a quote for the same job that you ultimately had done. Mr. Peach's quote was $1,600.
Right.
You paid somebody else almost $4,000.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yes. I would have paid Mr. Peach that amount had he quoted that and drawn it up in a contract. I would have paid that.
Is there anything else you're suing him for?
Yes, I am.
Go ahead.
I could not walk through the sidewalk area because it was so debris with broken up rock. So I had to walk through the center of my backyard that has all of that pile up of dirts and broken cement. That area in my yard is not lighted. And I fell 4 times at night coming in from concert one night, dinner. The 4th fall, I fell on my ulnar nerve, and I have a damaged nerve in this hand. So for a month and a half, I have been dropping hot pans of water and grease.
It's not his fault.
I know, but I'm saying I have a damaged.
It's not his fault.
I have a damaged nerve because of the fall.
It's not his fault.
But he left all that debris in my yard.
Not his fault.
And he drug out all the rocks.
Not his fault. What's the nature of your I'm speaking. What's the nature of your disability while you are not working?
I became very ill in October 1996 with necrotised and pancreatitis, and I spent 4.5 years in the hospital dying. And I am recovering from all of the
So you haven't worked since
surgeries.
1996?
I haven't worked since October 96.
Okay, fine.
So I was always available when Mr. Peach could come out and work.
Miss
Anytime
Davis,
I wanted to start.
Miss Davis, listen to me. You're not an unintelligent woman. And if you knew a job was worth $4,000 and somebody says that they're going to do it for you for $1,600, a red flag ought to go off in your head and say, something's wrong here. Either this man is drinking something, smoking something, or is not wrapped too tight. But he's certainly not going to work in my house because this job is not a $1,600 job. This job is thousands. So there's something wrong. I could understand why you wanted to have a contract. But having a contract with somebody who doesn't know what they're doing, who comes out for an estimate, gives you an estimate that you know is wrong, that you know is wrong.
Well, I don't.
Sure you do. That you know as a homeowner is wrong. And you say to him, sure, come on back and start this afternoon. Let's get it going. So I blame you because you are an intelligent woman and you should have known this was a big mistake. So my only question is, since you do not really have a contract with him, I have to make a determination whether you are entitled to any portion of your $700 back. You did, in fact, give him $700.
Yes, I did.
He did, in fact, work there for at least 2 days. So he gets 2 days' pay. The only 2 days' pay he's going to get is the $700 he's already got. Do you understand,
yes,
sir?
I do.
You have a counterclaim for breach of contract. According to you, you had no contract.
No.
So you can't sue her for breach of contract.
Didn't know that.
So your $4,000 claim for a breach of contract is over. Do you understand?
Yes.
Okay. And it's unfortunate that you fell in your backyard, madam. If you fell in your backyard and if you weren't careful, then that's your problem. He's not responsible for that. Careful. All right. $700 is what you paid. $700 is what he's entitled to. I don't know what else you want back.
I'd like to have my nerve back.
Well, I can't give that to you. You should have been more careful. That's all. Case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Next time when I do a job for a lady,
I paid out $700
I'll write up a contract,
for the work that was his crew did.
show her everything that I have before.
I'll check the Attorney General and
This is the first time anything ever happened like this.
anyone else that I can find to find shysters like this.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Russell versus Tate. Step forward.
Nurse Pam Russell is suing her ex-boyfriend, Charles D. Tate, for the return of a hot tub and a Doughboy pool. Charles says both items were gifts.
Miss Russell, you moved in with Mr. Tate, and you lived with him at his home for about 5 months, according to what I read. You had your own home at the time, which you were in the process of selling. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When you moved in with him, you did in fact sell your home, and you had in your home a pool and a hot tub, which you brought to Mr. Tate's home with his permission.
Correct.
And I gather that in order to install this pool and hot tub, there were some trees that were cut down. Is that right, Mr. Tate?
Yes, ma'am.
To make a long story short, the backyard was modified to accommodate the pool and hot tub. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you weren't getting along. Mr. Tate told you to leave. You left. You want your pool, your hot tub back, and you want expenses that you incurred, according to you, while you were living with him to sort of improve his house.
That's correct.
Let me see pictures of the backyard where the pool and the hot tub are. Miss Russell, when you brought this pool and hot tub over, what did you say to him?
I told him that I was putting my house up for sale and that, you know, if he wanted to, we would bring my pool and hot tub to his home and have it there to enjoy. Now, he referred to his home also as my home during that time.
Ma'am, she gave us this.
Shh. I didn't ask. Did you hear me ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Now, also, I helped him prepare this land, you know, as far as help him with it, help him with the trees, help him put the pool up.
I'm going to ask you, how many trees were cut down?
3.
We also had to do a bunch of bobcat work, dirt moving, whatever you want to call it, landscaping, surveying to get this pool in here level also.
Is that right?
That's right.
Now, what kind of expenses do you think you are entitled to be reimbursed for?
While I lived there, I had expenses on like painting the house inside. We remodeled the bathroom. I had a few things.
Ma'am, the whole time.
Shh. What were those things?
Bathroom fixtures, paint, things for the outside. A garden.
So what makes you think, Miss Russell, that you are entitled to be compensated for that?
Well, I mean, after I got everything, you know, the pool, the hot tub there, and I got everything there, then of course he gets mad at me one day and just kicks me out.
You brought the pool over in anticipation, I assume, of you living there together as a unit. Is that right?
That's right.
And you think that you're entitled to take it.
That's right.
You are not. If this was something that did not become part of the property and there were no alterations in the property, you want to take it, take it. But once he modifies it and he modifies his home, you don't get to take it back, nor do you get the value of it. Do you understand?
But the hot tub was just brought in, set down. It was never hooked up, no land preparation for the hot tub. So the hot tub was not in use.
Is that right, sir?
Well, we actually did get it hooked up, but we never did get to use it.
Okay, you don't mind if she takes the hot tub if she wants it, do you?
No, ma'am.
Great, you can come pick up the hot tub. When do you want to go pick up the hot tub?
As soon as I can go get it.
5 days from today. she has to make arrangements. If she doesn't come 5 days from today, she loses the right to do it. Do you understand? So you have to have a place to put it and somebody to pick it up 5 days from today's date. I'll prepare an order. Next, so things that you purchased for the house, you don't get reimbursed for. This was not a loan that you made to him. These were improvements that you contributed to while you were living in the house in anticipation that you were going to stay there. But you don't get compensated for that if it doesn't work out. That's why people get married. You see, if you get married and you make improvements to a house, then you have some vested interest in it because the law recognizes the state of marriage. The law does not recognize the state of living together or almost married or doing a test run. Do you understand? You don't have a case, Miss Russell. Sorry. We'll prepare the order with regard to the hot tub. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties number 332 on the calendar in the matter of Ramos versus Lowry. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated.
Ms. Ramos, Mr. Lowry is your former boyfriend. You also have a child together.
Yes.
Your claim is that he owes you for some child support and also for some old loans before you separated.
Yes.
Mr. Lowry says that he doesn't owe you anything and you should really just move on. So I have some questions for you because I do have a question about this back child support. According to your complaint, you had made an arrangement with Mr. Lowry and he was paying a certain amount in child support. How much were you paying, sir?
For the first, I believe it was 2 months or 3 months, it was $800. That was for child support and whatever I owed her. And
whatever you owed her for what?
For the phone bill, that was pretty much it. And then I dropped it down to $600. And then I was going to lose my job.
Why were you losing your job?
Because I was relocating.
So it was voluntary. You weren't going to lose your job. You were quitting.
Yeah.
Why were you hesitating? I mean,
well,
I want to know whether you got let go, or either you were fired, the company went out of business, or you decided that you wanted another career opportunity.
I would just work, exactly. I wanted another career opportunity.
What kind of work had you been doing?
Sales.
Okay. Then what kind of job were you going to?
Sales.
Same job, different jurisdiction?
Exactly.
Okay. How long were you out of work?
2.5 months.
Why were you out of work so long?
Because I was getting everything situated down here so I could move up to Vegas and whatnot, and so...
Well, just a second. I don't understand, sir. Why did it take you 2.5 months to do that?
Things were going on with the company that I was working for that was hurting me, so I voluntarily left that job.
How was it voluntarily hurting you?
It wasn't the job for me, pretty much, you know, so I stopped working there.
So you stopped working voluntarily. Now, at the time you stopped working voluntarily for these 2 months, how much had you been immediately preceding that giving Miss Ramos for your son?
I was giving her up to $600 a month.
How much?
$475 right before he
1 month before.
Oh, it's fine. This is going to work to your favor.
Yeah,
I wouldn't.
exactly.
I wouldn't argue with her.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying I knew I was going to lose my job. Then I had asked her, look, instead of taking Dominic to the babysitter, since I'm not going to be working, I'll be able to help you out a lot more during the daytime while she's working, take care of my son, see him every day.
No, Mr. Lowry. That's all very nice. You have responsibility. You can't take you can't take a 2-month vacation from your job.
I wasn't.
You can't. Yes, you were. You would take a 2-month vacation. All right. And then what happened is you went to the family court, and you got a support order against Mr. Lowry, and they said for the 2 months that he didn't give you any money.
It was a little more than 2 months. I'm sorry.
How many months?
It was from April to August.
He didn't give you any money in April?
No money April, no money May, no money June, no money July, no money August.
5 months. Well, what took you 5 months?
Well, I was asking her if I could, instead of giving her $600 or $475 a month, since I'm not working, can I work it out some other way, like taking care of them instead of having the babysitter take care of them?
You already said that, and I already said to you that was the 2 months that you weren't working, Mr. Lowry.
Yeah, but it wasn't allowed to me.
Shh, listen to me. She was right. You don't take a vacation for 2 months and say, I'll babysit. Child has a routine. Child goes to a babysitter, goes to a daycare facility, goes to something else. As a parent, you could do that. You can take 2 months off. I don't care if you take off from today until next Tisha B'Av.
Exactly.
As long as you don't have children to support. When you have children to support, you don't say, I'm going to take a 2-month vacation.
And I wanted to support my child.
Then you shouldn't have quit your job. Listen to
physically.
me. Then you shouldn't have quit your job. Then you support. And you visit on weekends. Go when you're on vacation.
I wanted to do it every day during work.
That's too bad. That's what comes under the category of too bad. What I want to know is, once you got to Las Vegas and you started to work, because you said you were only out of work 2.5 months, why didn't you start to send her money?
Well, I've just started working in Las Vegas September 23rd.
You said you were only out of work 2.5 months. She says you didn't pay her for 5 months.
Okay, I'd asked her, look, you know what, is there any way that we could work on this? So instead of paying you the money, can I take care of my son?
I've already addressed that, sir. I asked you what happened when you went to work in Las Vegas. Why didn't you send her
It just
the money?
started. I just started in Las Vegas September 23rd.
She says there was 5-month period when you didn't send her child support, Mr. Lowry.
I was trying to get to that, but you're interrupting me. I was trying to get to that, but you're not letting me finish.
I've gotten past babysitting for 2 months. Why didn't you send her money for 5 months?
I was trying to get to that.
Get to it.
I had asked her if I could please kind of do something else other than the money situation, because I wasn't going to have the money to support the child. I was volunteering to help any way that I could possibly do it. She didn't accept it. So I told her, if you want to do it by yourself, do it by yourself. If I have no say-so in the matter, do it by yourself. I'm still his dad, right? I'm still my father, my baby's dad. I believe if I'm not working...
What you're explaining to me, sir, because she refused your gracious offer to quit your job and babysit during the day for 2 months while you were making this transition, you didn't pay her support for the 5 months until she took you to court. Is that what you're telling me?
I didn't talk to her, yeah. I didn't talk to her for 5 months after that. Because I had told her if she wants to do it by herself,
Larry, I don't want to hear you anymore. I don't want to hear you anymore. Sales is perfect for you. Maybe some people buy it. Not in this pew.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think this is much too complicated for you.
Try me.
Try it? Well, let's give it a try.
And later today...
I'd never keep my money in the bank, I promise.
Where did you put your check every week?
At the bank, at my bank.
You see how you're getting to be tripping over your tie there, sir?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elizabeth Ramos says ex-boyfriend Chad Lowry owes for unpaid child support. Chad says he's been in between jobs.
You think that your $475 a month covers a child's expenses?
That's why I was giving her $800, $600.
No, you stopped giving her $800, $600.
And then it broke, yeah, because I couldn't afford it, that's why.
Listen to me. I don't give a rat's behind what you can afford. What I asked you was, do you think $475 a month covers a child's expenses?
No.
Food, clothing, medical, insurance, rent, daycare, babysitting while she works. You think?
I'm well aware of that.
You think that it covers that?
No.
No, of course not. So what you were doing was paying a portion.
Ask her what she was paying.
I'm speaking. She was working. You told me that you wanted to babysit while she was working instead of taking the child to the babysitter, right? That's what you just told me. She wasn't quitting her job.
Exactly.
Let me put it to you this way.
Exactly.
Let me put it to you this way, sir. Let us say this. I think this is much too complicated for you.
Try me.
Well, let's give it a try. Let's say Miss Ramos has a child with you, and she's a working lady, and a court fixes a support order for you, says, listen, this is what the child's needs are. A child needs $800 a month. She can afford from her job to pay $400, and you can afford from your job to pay $400. That's fair?
Mm-hmm.
Court makes an order, you've got to pay $400 a month. A couple of years go by, Miss Ramos decides to get married, and she has a new baby. And she says, I'm not working with this new baby. I want to stay home for a while, for a year or two, and mother this new baby. So, Mr. Lowry, she goes back to court, and the judge said, well, your baby still has $800 worth of needs. So now, Mr. Lowry, you have to pay $800 a month because she decided to stop working. How do you think you wouldn't like that?
I wouldn't.
No. Well, that's what you did.
But
you said, I'm not working. I'm decided I'm not going to work for the next few months, so I'll take up the slack. You keep working.
Any which way I know how to.
Please, you know.
If I don't have no money, what else can I do?
As I said, sales is wonderful for you. Miss Ramos, you haven't said much, but let me tell you this. You've also got a lot of other things. You've also got a lot of other claims here against him that I'm not even hearing because they're nonsense. Something that you were going to buy him for his birthday, you broke up, he said, I want it anyway, and I'll pay for it, a phone bill. I'm not interested in all that stuff. I'm interested in the child support. That's the big thing. And on the child support, he owes you a whole bunch of money. $2,115 is what he owes you for the child support when he voluntarily left his employment, which in my judgment he cannot do when he has responsibilities. I am only surprised that the family court, when they fixed his child support obligation, did not also fix an amount in arrears, because they should have. If they did not, I am prepared to do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,115. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's extremely hard having to look a 2-year-old in the eyes and not have their father there.
I tried to do the best that I could possibly do.
Not have the child support there.
I mean, I still don't believe that about the child support issue.
And why? Because he wants to take a vacation?
I wasn't taking a vacation.
That's not fair.
I had left one job to go to another job.
This is not going to hinder his relationship with his son.
I'll be there as much as I could possibly be there for my son.
Him to be happy and me to be happy.
All parties in the matter of Carino versus Bradson, step forward, please.
Dental office manager Regina Carino is suing her ex-fiancé, electrician Ryan Bridson, for house payments. Ryan is countersuing, claiming Regina stole property from the home after they broke up.
The background of this case is simple, even though pretty stupid on your part. You were engaged and you decided to buy a house together. So clearly you don't pay attention to what I say. You don't buy anything jointly. A car, a house, a boat, a trailer, a truck, and anything, unless you're married, right? Okay. Your problem is that after you bought this house, the relationship went south, and shortly after you moved out, he stopped paying the mortgage. You paid the mortgage, according to you, for how many months?
From November till March.
November, December, January, February, March, the house was sold.
Yes.
So you paid it for 4 months or 5?
5.
5 months. You made the mortgage payment for 5 months, and when you sold the house, there was a profit, and the profit was $8,000. So each of you took $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want is, you want him to give you back the money that you spent on the mortgage when you weren't living there.
Yes, ma'am.
Which amounts to how much?
Just for the mortgage alone, totals up to $3,109.68.
What were the mortgage payments each month?
They varied depending. I was waiting on the defendant to make the payment, which some months it were different because it added a late fee.
I see. And then you say that he purchased some electronic equipment on a credit card that both of you had?
Yeah, it was in both our names. It was
Also,
after we separated.
Dumb, stupid. You don't pay attention. You don't listen. You don't get a credit card with somebody jointly if you're not married. Even when you're married, sometimes it's stupid. But for sure, when you're not married, it's stupid to have a joint credit card.
Yes.
And you say that electronic equipment was bought for the house?
It was actually for his vehicle. And I didn't find out
for his
until I got
car?
the bill. Yes.
For his car?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't pay the credit card bill off?
No, I'm still paying on it.
Well, that's what happens when you take out a joint credit card. So I'm going to deal with the mortgage payments only. Now, you have a cross-claim, and your cross-claim is that she and or her boyfriend broke into the house when you weren't there and stole electronic equipment. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Furniture also.
What proof do you have that they stole this equipment?
I have my witness was going to come, but he couldn't come, Your Honor, because
then what
I can give you his number. You can call him.
I don't do that.
I got proof that I have pictures of my furniture.
Listen to me.
Yes,
what proof do you have that the plaintiff and her boyfriend broke into your house to present to me today? If you have none, I will dismiss your case without prejudice. You can go file it again if you have proof. But without a witness, since you weren't home, you were in Florida, according to you, I can't make a determination that anybody committed a felony. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So let's stay with this house payment. Now, let us assume that she made and that she has records for $3,109 worth of mortgage payments that she made when she wasn't living in the house. You were living in the house. According to you, you fell on bad financial times.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you say in your answer.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Well, then why say no? Is it no or is it yes?
It's yes. The very last month, I did not pay her because we were receiving a settlement from the closure of the house, and I said, you can just take it out of that. But the other 4 months, I did pay, Your Honor.
Show me.
I gave her straight cash, and she doesn't give me receipts or anything like that. I gave her straight cash on.
Mr. Bridson, show me bank accounts where you took out the cash from the bank account to give her.
It was all on trust, Your Honor.
No, you don't trust. A bank doesn't trust, sir. A bank doesn't trust. You said
we were still good friends.
Listen to me. You said that you gave her the money for the mortgage payment in cash every month.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have a receipt.
No, ma'am.
Now, you're not living together. You're not together. So the smart thing would have been either you write a check or you get a money order so you have some sort of a receipt. But okay.
We were friends.
Oh.
Sorry.
So I said to you, well, if you didn't have a check or a money order, show me your bank statement where you withdrew money from your bank every month to give her in cash.
Didn't, Your Honor.
You didn't. You kept it under the mattress. You accumulated the money
Yes,
every
ma'am,
month
I never
under the
kept my
mattress.
money in my bank
Do
account.
you know that I don't believe you, sir?
I never keep my money in the bank.
No, you never keep the money in the bank. What do you do for a living?
I'm an electrician.
You paid in cash?
Yes, ma'am.
When's the last time you filed tax returns?
Last year.
What did you say you earned last year?
32 grand.
And were you working for yourself or were you working for somebody else?
Working for a company.
What's the name of the company?
Electric.
And Electric paid you in cash?
No, ma'am.
Electric paid you by check.
Yes, ma'am.
So if Electric paid you by check, where did you put your check every week?
I went and cashed it and I put it in my pocket.
Where did you cash it?
At the bank, at my bank.
You see how you're getting to be tripping over your tie there, sir? So you have a bank.
Yes, ma'am. But I don't put money in the bank. I use it to cash my check.
They don't cash your check, sir, unless you keep money in the bank.
$5.
Do you know that he honestly believes he's smarter than I am? Something happens to your brain, I think, when you have all that work done.
He just don't know you very well.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't. I don't believe you.
Okay.
Because according to your answer, I'm going to read you what you wrote, but you probably forgot because you're not so smart. And what you swore to. My roommate got laid off and my income wasn't enough to cover the bills, so I told Regina I was going to have to file for bankruptcy because I couldn't afford to pay off my debt. Regina didn't want the house to go into foreclosure, so she decided she would pay the mortgage.
For the
That's what you said.
For the one
That's
month,
what
the
you...
very last month.
No,
And
sir.
I was going to file bankruptcy on my credit card.
Listen to me, sir. A house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month.
She was just running her mouth.
Listen to me.
Just
Listen
exaggerating.
to me. Listen to me. A house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month. You just told me a moment ago, I have a very good memory, Mr. Brightson. You just told her, well, take it out for the 1 month because we were closing in 1 month on the sale. And I'm telling you that a house doesn't go into foreclosure in 1 month, especially when you have a sale. So I believe her that she paid the mortgage from November when you say you fell on hard times and your roommate lost his job and you couldn't afford to pay all of your bills. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,109. But, Ms. Carino, I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Yes, ma'am.
You should have taken care of all of this business when you closed on the house. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
What state do you live in?
Virginia.
Do you have attorneys when you close on property, or do you do that yourselves?
We did have an attorney at the time.
You had one lawyer? Mm-hmm. Did you raise the issue of the fact that he owed you money with your lawyer?
Yes, he wasn't going to have it. So
he wasn't going to have it.
Yeah, he didn't want me to get my share.
He's a loser. Forget about it. You're much better off. Got it?
Got it.
Thank you.
Assault and damage to her home. Leonard says the assault was an accident.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 496 on the calendar in the matter of Wade versus Wade. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mrs. Wade, how long were you married to the defendant?
Approximately 5 years. We were together 10 years.
And how long have you been divorced now?
11 years.
Have children together?
Yes, we do.
How many?
2.
How old are they?
11 and 12.
All right. Now, according to your complaint, about 3 years ago, sometime in 1996, after you had been divorced for 8 years, the defendant became ill. According to you, you felt very sorry for him. It was a serious illness, and you allowed him to move back into the house. And at that time, you and your children were on welfare.
Correct.
And you put him on your welfare budget.
Yes, I did.
Unbeknownst to you, according to you, despite his illness, he was working someplace. When welfare found out about this, sometime later. They billed you for the $3,000 some odd dollars that they had paid you for the time he was living there, welfare grant for him, because they said he was working. Right?
That's correct.
So you want him to pay you back because they're going to take the money out of your salary if you're working.
That's correct.
You're working. Right. You also, another part of your lawsuit has to do with an alleged assault that occurred 3 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you say he tried to get back into the house, you had thrown him out, he knocked in the door and cut you on your foot.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to ask you a question. Why did you wait 3 years with regard to that part of your lawsuit? Why did you just decide, since you were going to sue him, you might as well sue him for everything?
That's it.
Well, then forget that. My problem with the second part of your lawsuit is that you waited 3 years. And that when you decided to sue him, you sat down and you said, well, this he owes me because this I have to pay back from welfare, so I'm going to throw in the whole kitchen sink. I have a problem with that. Because as far as I'm concerned, that sort of abuses the court system. So let's talk about this welfare incident. Now, Mr. Wade.
Yes, ma'am.
You say that you were in the armed forces at some point. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you were in the armed forces, and according to you, sir, there were veterans' benefits paid to you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been receiving veterans' benefits?
Since 96.
Since 1996?
Yes, ma'am.
Show me proof.
Well, it won't have the date on it, ma'am, when I started receiving it. It's just
Let
a
me
fact.
just see everything that you have, sir.
Here's a copy of some of the check stubs I've received, ma'am.
Let me see the information that you have from welfare, please, about the dates that they want this recruitment for. Now, when did you start receiving these VA benefits, sir? Before or after you moved into your former wife's house?
After.
After?
After I moved in, yes, ma'am.
Where were the checks going?
They were going to my address.
It's your former wife's address.
It's also my address, Your Honor. I was on the...
welfare budget?
No, ma'am.
Yes, you were.
Yes.
No, ma'am. I was not on the welfare budget to my knowledge.
Just a
I
second.
was receiving VA pension money.
Oh, okay. Now, how much were you receiving while you were living with your former wife?
It started at $11.43.
A month?
A month.
Now, what were you doing with that money, sir?
Living.
What do you mean living?
I was living at home with my children and my wife, my ex-wife.
Were you paying the rent?
We were on Section 8 housing, and yes, I was.
No, he wasn't. I paid all utilities, all rent, all food, everything.
No, the government
with the
paid.
AFDC.
I gave them the money.
Right, with the AFDC money.
Are you telling me, madam, I want you to explain to me exactly how you placed him on your welfare budget. Explain to me how you did it.
Okay, first of all, I felt that he wasn't receiving adequate care through the VA hospital. So I asked Medi-Cal if they could put him on the budget also, and also on cash aid, since he was supposedly not able to work at that particular time. And they allowed this. He also signed each and every one of those CA-7s that state that he was not receiving any of the monies whatsoever from any other sources. On each of those papers, on the back of it, he has his signature that says that he did not receive any other monies.
She'd bring papers up to me and say, sign them. I'd sign them. I mean, she was supposedly be my wife. I was going to be happy the rest of my life. I had no idea.
And he was supposedly only supposed to have 6 months to live.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So you were not only getting paid from the saloon. You were getting paid from the federal government under VA benefits. You were getting paid from the city, state, and federal government welfare benefits. You were making out like a bandit. You make out better than me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Wade claims her ex-husband, Vietnam vet Leonard Wade, owes her for her welfare, assault, and damage to her home.
You're receiving almost $1,200 a month from the Veterans Administration for a disability.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Ah. And how much was your total welfare budget at the time?
I believe it was $895.
So between the two of you not working, you're bringing in $2,000 a month free and clear, right? No taxes, no nothing, plus you're living in Section 8 housing. Is that right?
I had no clue he was receiving this VA benefit. This is news to me.
I don't believe you. I'm going to tell you why I don't believe you. Because if his mail is coming to the house and you were so concerned about his situation with the VA, concerned enough to go down to welfare, help him sign up, contact the Veterans Administration, go over there. It is unlikely that a woman who is that clever would not look at mail coming into the house and say...
He has a P.O. box.
And say, I wonder what this is.
He has a P.O. box.
And it's also interesting to me that if you knew he was not getting, according to you, adequate care by the VA, that you would say, well, if he's getting certain benefits from the Veteran Administration, aren't you getting any money from the Veterans Administration?
I did not receive any of his VA stuff. His VA stuff went to a P.O. box.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Would you like to look at the checks she's received?
Absolutely.
That
Direct
was
deposit.
later on.
Absolutely.
Started in 96, all the way through
At
97.
the end of
and 98.
96.
Absolutely.
At the end of 96.
November of 96.
That's right.
$2,235.
We started receiving at the end of 96.
Yeah.
Also, Your Honor, Miss Wade received a check for approximately $7,800 at her address.
He's lying.
She gave it to her mother. Her mother, in turn, put it in her safety deposit box. My witness will verify that I had to go to the bank with her mother and sign the check and give Miss Wade half of the check.
Does that sound familiar to you, Miss Wade?
No, it does
Nothing
not say none of that.
Just a second. Does $7,800 sound familiar to you that was received by you in a check?
No, it was not received by me.
Who was it received by?
It was received by my mother at my mother's house.
It was received by your mother in your mother's house from the Veterans Administration for $7,800.
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
She told me about it. I told him. He went and got it. He spent it on himself.
Well, look, first you say
Yes,
no,
you
then you
did.
say first you say no, then when I catch you, you say yes. Sounds to me. Let me just see the dates. Let me just get a date from you, madam. When was the check for $7,800?
In 96. See, what had happened was Miss Wade had kicked me out of my house, told me not to come back. She changed my address, my postal address. That's why I had to go and get a box from the post office.
Yeah.
At the time, I was living...
What was the $7,800 for?
From the veterans.
Well, that's a big check.
Yes, ma'am, it was.
It
From
was
the time
because
you
you-
sign up to the time you receive your money, they add it all up.
Okay, so there was a delay in getting your benefits,
Yes,
and the $7,800 was for a period of time prior to 96,
Right.
when you got the check.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, sir, step up here. State your name.
Dean Langley, ma'am.
Langley?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Langley, do you remember in what month and year this $7,800 transaction took place when you went to a safety deposit box?
Well, Lonnie was staying with me. It was, I think it was in the spring, but I remember going to the bank with him to cash a check, and he tried to get a receipt from her mother, and she wouldn't give him a receipt, but she had to have half of that money.
You mean the plaintiff's mother?
Yes, ma'am.
It was in the spring of 96?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, Ms. Wade, that should cover the $30-some-odd $100 that welfare is suing you for.
No, it doesn't. I did not receive any of those monies at all. I never received anything. I never even saw the check. It
You may
went
have
to
not
my mother's house. My mother contacted me. I contacted him. He went down. He cashed the check. He bought himself a truck. He bought himself a trailer.
Just a second. Is what you're telling me that your mother never received this half of that money?
No.
Give me your mother's phone number. Now, Mr. Langley.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Miller was there with you at the bank?
Yes, yes, her mother was.
Why don't you have a seat?
Thank you.
Come to order. Stand up, please.
Miss Miller, does your mother work?
Yes, she does.
Give me your work number, please.
I don't know that number at this
Well, think hard. Who does she work for?
Franchise
Now, give me
tax.
a home phone number for if you know she's not home.
Franchise tax board.
Go through your bag and get her work number. Make out as if it was an emergency, Miss Wade.
I'm not in contact with my mother. I haven't been in 2 years. I have no idea what her phone number at her work is at this time.
Miss Wade, why haven't you been in touch with your mother for 2 years?
We're having a dispute over my child, and she was a part of it.
Well, this is an important enough issue for me to try to resolve it. I have already concluded, you should both know that you were thoroughly aware of the fact and used, along with him, for the time that he was living with you in 95 and 96, his VA benefits, which were almost $1,200 a month. It was just a very good scam. Unfortunately, it got found out. Now, the issue is, since you both scammed because he knew you were getting welfare and you knew that he was getting this, I should probably just leave you the way I found you, which is two people trying to get over on the system.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
You knew this was an expensive necklace? It's a gold necklace?
Yes, she told me it was.
My grandfather gave it to my mom, and then she gave it to me. And my grandfather is deceased.
closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Diane Wade claims her ex-husband, Vietnam vet Leonard Wade, owes her for her welfare, assault, and damage to her home.
Sir, let me explain something to you. If you think for 1 second that I have any doubt that you knew she was getting welfare while you were getting $1,200 a month to support your family, I have a bridge that I want to sell you. All right? So you knew it, she knew it, but together you had $2,000 a month plus whatever extra money you were earning from this saloon that you were working in, right? So you were not only getting paid from the saloon, you were getting paid from the federal government under VA benefits, you were getting paid from the city, state, and federal government welfare benefits. You were making out like a bandit. You make out better than me. The only issue that I have here is whether or not you got this $7,800 check and kept it all for yourself. And if you kept it all for yourself, I may feel as if, well, she should be entitled to at least part. Now I have a sense deep in my gut that she did, in fact, receive that part of that money that her mother had in the vault. I believe that because I believe him. Unfortunately, the plaintiff at this point says that she doesn't know how to reach her mother.
I don't, and I'd rather not know.
So I tell you what I'm going to do, madam. I am dismissing your case without prejudice, and it is without prejudice to you within 10 days of today refiling this matter before me and bringing your mother in as a witness. Barring that, your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, man. What about my kids?
Just goes to show you, don't let an idiot back in your house. God.
She's not happy. She's never happy unless she's got a pocket full of money.
And now the next case.
All parties on Page versus Mohammed. Step forward, please.
17-year-old Jordana Page claims 20-year-old Ramsey Mohammed took her gold necklace and refused to return it. Ramsey says it's in the mail.
All right, Miss Page, you and the defendant had dated. According to your papers, you let him borrow a necklace of yours and a CD player.
Uh-huh.
When you broke up, you wanted it back, the necklace and the CD player?
Mm-hmm.
Is that right so far?
Yes.
And you say that you put it in the mail and you mailed it back to her?
Yes.
Both the necklace and the CD?
Actually, I was unaware of the CD until today. I had no idea that she was saying that I took the CD player.
Do you have the CD player?
No.
What happened to it?
The last time I had it, it was at her cousin's house.
Now, you say that's not your responsibility anymore because you put it in the mail and mailed the necklace back to her. Is that
Yes.
right? Okay. So, tell me the steps that you went through to mail it back to her.
I just went down to Super Kmart and mailed it in the post office. I told the clerk guy that I wanted to mail it out. He gave me a little box, asked me what size I wanted, gave me a little box, and I just mailed it out. That was it.
You knew this was an expensive necklace? It's a gold necklace?
Yes, she told me it was.
You have proof of the value of the necklace?
I have. What happened was my grandfather gave it to my mom, and then she gave it to me. And my grandfather is deceased, and but she did go to her jeweler's and get an estimate for one like mine.
How did she do that?
She took
Step up. How did you do that?
Your Honor, I went to Benbridge and I asked the lady that usually helps me to see if they have something like it was similar to my daughter's, and she said yes. And we looked at the price, and I said, "Would you mind putting on writing how much that's worth and how much that?" And this
Do you have
is
a
what she
picture of
did.
the necklace?
Mm-hmm.
Can
Yes,
I see
ma'am.
it, please? All right. Well, that's a substantial gold chain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
So, Mr. Mohammed, let me tell you what you have to do if you're acting responsibly. You borrowed this gold chain. The chain was a valuable one. You were told to return it. It's your responsibility to return it in such a fashion that best ensures that you receive it, which means that you send it registered mail and you insure it. You just don't put it in a box.
Correct.
If you did it at all, and send it through the mail. It's like putting it in an envelope. You know, you put it in a little envelope and you send, send me back my $5,000. Sure, put the $5,000 in an envelope and send it back to you. I'm sorry you didn't get it. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff, $700. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I just thought it went really well. It was fair, and it's what I expected.
Everything was smooth. I had assumed that she received it, and I didn't know anything until I got called saying that I was being sued for the necklace.
There's no hard feelings at all. No bad feelings.
Specialist Lorraine Mendez is suing photographer John Barker, 32, for taking terrible pictures at her wedding. John is countersuing Lorraine for breaking their contract and not paying him.
Order. All rise. Judge, this is case number 546 on the calendar in the matter of Mendez versus Barker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mrs. Mendez, the defendant was hired by you to take photographs of your wedding. You say that he breached the contract, that he took bad pictures, he wants your money back. And he's counterclaiming because of some photographs that you have in a violation or a breach of an agreement that you had with him. So tell me why you want your money back, why you think you're entitled to your money back.
Well, first of all, I started planning my wedding in March of '98.
Just tell me how we, listen, I don't have time for the whole wedding plan. Just tell me, how did he breach your contract?
Well,
he
what I
came
did,
there, correct?
Yeah, he was late
he came
to the reception.
There, he took photographs, and he gave you photographs.
Right.
And your complaint is that they weren't good photographs.
Right.
Is that how you say he breached your contract?
Yes, when I called him back, I told him that we needed to come to some kind of compromise because the pictures were awful.
So your claim against him is that he took bad pictures, correct?
And he wouldn't enlarge them like he
Okay.
said he would as part of
And
the contract.
his counterclaim is that at some point you said to him you weren't satisfied and you wanted the proofs. And he said you can have the proofs for 5 days. Is
That's
that right?
Your Honor. Yes, ma'am.
To look at, to make a decision as to what pictures I assume you want enlarged,
That's exactly right.
which is standard fare.
Well, he
You
gave
take,
us-
shh, just a second, which is pretty standard. And according to his counterclaim, you kept the pictures for 2 months, where you had an agreement that is signed that you would return them within 5 days. That's your counterclaim,
Yes, ma'am.
which we're going to get to in a minute. So first thing I want you to do is show me the pictures, because that's the basis of your claim against him. Show me all the pictures, not just a few, not just a few. How many pictures did you take, sir?
I took 172, Your Honor.
Okay.
Which this 100 was part of the contract, 72 he took on his own. And those are the 72 that he gave me and told me I had to return within 5 days.
She needs a variety of photos to pick her 100. That's why I didn't want to lock her into 100.
He's absolutely right. That's the way it goes. He says he'll give you 100 to choose from,
And-
but they take more so that you can have a lot more to choose from, so that you're not stuck with those.
And I
Okay.
called him on Friday to come pick up his pictures between 2 and 4, like he specified me a date to go and pick him up.
Just a second, you're talking too fast. Right now I'm looking at the pictures. These are the pictures he gave you.
Those and these.
Well, I want to take a look at all of them.
These are the 72 extra ones he took.
That's not completely...
No, he didn't take 72 extra. What he did was he gave you 172 pictures, Miss
Right.
Mendez.
Right.
He gave you 172 pictures. He says, pick 100. These aren't the extras. Did you put these in the book, or did he?
He did. That's why I thought those were the main ones that he was going to...
So he put these in the book.
He organized
Right, Your
it.
Honor, but that doesn't...
All right, shh.
And this is the contract where he was going to enlarge them.
Just a second. He's prepared to enlarge them. He didn't return the pictures on time.
Well, I called him...
Just a second. I'll get to you. I called him.
The ones that are loose in there are the ones her mother took. And that was taken with a regular 35mm.
I don't see anything wrong with these pictures at all.
The background,
I
and
don't
they're
see anything wrong
off-centered.
with these pictures at all. They may not be perfect, but
The
I don't see anything
entrance-
wrong with them.
He didn't take a picture of the arch. He didn't take a picture of
That's-
us eating dinner.
I have a picture of the arch, Your Honor. I can walk you through.
Well, it wasn't in the book. And this one, as you see in there, is centered. The one that he took in the entrance is not.
Ms. Mendez, I just looked through that book. There were some lovely photographs in that book.
The main point was we took a picture in church, and that was supposed to be the most important thing. And if you see one of those pictures, there's this much room from the ceiling.
Your Honor, I have some enlargements right here that might
Can
give
I
you a better idea than
Can
the
I see
proofs.
them, please?
And he stopped accepting my phone calls. He turned off his answer machine.
I
That's
see a
not
lot
true,
of
Your
pictures in the church with you and the priest.
I mean, I can't go back and relive that day.
Ms. Mendez, these pictures, some of these pictures are lovely. I've looked at a lot of wedding albums because I had 4 kids who were married. Not all the pictures are perfect when they give you ones to choose from. But the
he
ones
wouldn't
that were
want-
put in this book seem very
He
nice
didn't-
to me.
He didn't want to fix them at all. He told me no, all I owed him was $72. He didn't want to try to, I mean, obviously he knew no meaning of customer satisfaction.
Ms. Mendez, the issue is not whether you got perfect pictures of your wedding. The issue is, did you get reasonable pictures of your wedding? And these are most reasonable. I don't know what you're complaining about.
The
I
ones
really
that
don't.
her mother took with the regular 35mm film are not like that. You can see their faces clear. Those, you see, they're just ugly.
They're not ugly at all, Miss Mendez. They're not ugly at all. You look beautiful. Your husband looks beautiful. They have pictures of you smiling. They have pictures of you with your family.
And he was supposed to follow my mother's album book, like a storybook, and he did not do that. He took snapshots of, I don't know what, he had no organization whatsoever.
Miss Mendez, you know, one of the things that you just said to me was he didn't put them in the order that he was supposed to put them in pursuant to my mother's album. The album that he has, you take the pictures out, you take them off this order, you put them in whatever order you like. The thing comes off here. I mean, if you want to hear some very good advice, life is very short. If you allow yourself to be bogged down with minutiae from the very beginning, you're going to be a very unhappy person. very, very unhappy.
But this is a wedding, Your Honor.
I want to tell you
This is the
something.
most important day of my life.
I want to tell you something. Life is not perfect. Generally speaking, these pictures are lovely. And it captures your day. That's what pictures are supposed to do. Stop being a baby.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have tried cases with photographs that were terrible, and I have awarded judgments to people when I say, my 6-year-old grandson could take better pictures than that. That is not the case in this case.
And later today.
Is that what you're asking me to believe?
Yeah, I'll just drop it.
No, I'm asking you.
No,
Are you asking me to believe?
My words.
No, I'm not twisting
I'm
your
trying
words.
to tell you how
I'm
how
not
it was.
twisting your words, sir. I'm trying to come to the truth.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lorraine Mendez claims photographer John Barker ruined her wedding pictures. John claims the pictures are perfect and he wants to get paid.
Now, let's get to your counterclaim. You want to pursue this counterclaim, sir?
Yes,
Or you
ma'am.
want to just say, forget it? You wouldn't have pursued this counterclaim had she not filed the action against you, is
That's
that
true,
right?
Your Honor, but I had to print a lot of extra photos, and I've had to deal with a lot of extra things that I don't normally have to deal with.
You mean print extra photos for what?
For today in court, Your Honor, and also, I mean, if anyone signs the contract and keeps the photos.
Let me see the contract, by the way,
months.
for the return. You gave her the proofs. Let me see the agreement that you signed.
This is the letter I sent them asking for that $72, and this is the contract that her husband signed, Your Honor, for the $72 for the proofs.
Her husband signed this.
Yes, ma'am.
She didn't.
Right.
So what are you counterclaiming against her for?
I guess I can't. I assumed her husband would come with, Your Honor.
Well, did you serve him with your counterclaim?
No, ma'am.
Then I can deal with this relatively easily. He signed that he would return it in 72 hours. He didn't return it in 72 hours. If you want to pursue the $72, sue him.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it? So your counterclaim is dismissed. And Ms. Mendez, I've given you some very good advice for your whole life. If you get yourself bogged down in minutiae, things that are really...
No, he treated me like I was some little girl, like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Ms. Mendez, if you get yourself involved with minutiae, you have lovely pictures and lovely memories of that day. They may not be perfect. It may not be just the photographs that you wanted exactly. It may not have been exactly like your mother's photo album. May not have been all these things. But if a grown married woman like you can get hysterical crying because the background was a little too dark. Now, I've seen photographs that are terrible. I have tried cases with photographs that were terrible. And I have awarded judgments to people when I say, my 6-year-old grandson could take better pictures than that. That is not the case in this case.
What about
These are
the
lovely
altar, though? What
photographs.
about in the church? I don't have a big picture that I can put up a 16 by 20 at my house that looks somewhat decent. I mean, her mom took pictures with a 35mm camera, and they came out so much better.
Then take one of her pictures
That's
and
what I
blow it
had
up.
to do.
And just a minute. Then take, if you like her picture inside the church better than the numerous pictures that I see here inside the church, blow up her picture and grow up. That's all.
All right, are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
I think the judge was right on. The pictures speak for themselves. The pictures are fine. She's got wonderful pictures of her wedding, and that's what we agreed on.
He wore a little press thing that said press, and it should have said idiot on it, because he didn't know what he was doing. He seemed so frustrated, like he hadn't handled a group, you know, a wedding so big. He was just a total jerk.
And now the next case.
Parties on Nelson versus Maloney. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Tanya Nelson claims ex-boyfriend, 20-year-old Shaylin Maloney, owes her for car payments, bail, and a birthday weekend. Shaylin says he gave her his paycheck while they were together and calls it even.
Miss Nelson, according to your papers, you lived with the defendant for a short period of time. While you lived with him, you made certain loans to him. One was for car insurance and car payments. One was for credit card, and the other was for, what, bail?
Yes.
Bail. Okay. How long did you know him before you moved in together?
About two, 3 months.
So tell me about these loans. Let's start with the car and the car payments.
Okay. I had made 2 car payments for him.
Why?
He asked if I would loan him some money and he'd pay me back.
And how much were the car payments?
$200 each. The total was $400.
Okay. Did she, in fact, write checks for your car payments in the amount of $400?
Yeah, she did.
Okay. Now, what about the insurance?
The insurance, he, at the time, needed car insurance. He also was driving my car as well. So I had him added on to the insurance, and we agreed that he would pay his portion of it.
On your policy?
Yes.
Did you have that discussion with her?
Yeah, we sure did.
Okay. And how much was your portion of the insurance?
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
$746.23.
Is that his portion, or was that the total insurance?
That would be his half for the total amount of insurance that was paid.
Okay, so that's the car. Then you say you bailed him out of jail.
Yes.
And when was that?
May 10th.
What was he arrested for?
A DUI.
How much was his bail?
I got a bondsman that cost $161.50.
And did he call you from jail?
Yes, he did.
What did he say when he called you from jail?
He said, I'm down in Douglas County. I need you to come up and come down and bail me out of jail.
Is that what you said to her?
About, yeah.
Did you expect to pay her back for your bail?
Yeah, I did pay her back.
You did?
He did not.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, all right, let's leave the car for a moment. Let's get to something that I can sink my teeth into. Bail.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Tanya Nelson says former boyfriend Shaylin Maloney borrowed money to cover his car payments, bail, and a birthday weekend. Shaylin says he paid his own way with his paycheck.
Now, what about the credit cards? You say that there's a bill of some $400 for credit cards.
Yes, for a weekend that we took. I charged a rental car, our rooms, food, everything, and when we got back, I'd add up the total and he would pay half.
Is that what your arrangement was?
Yes, it was.
And you talked about that?
Yes.
What was the total credit card bill for that?
$477.86.
And he was supposed to pay for half of that?
Yes.
Now, sir, you say you don't owe her any money.
That's correct.
Explain it to me.
At the time, I didn't have a checking account. I signed all my paychecks over to her to cover rent, all the expenses, the bills, you know, that kind of thing. Pretty much I just trust her with my money, which was kind of silly.
How much was your paycheck, sir?
$600-700 a piece.
Every 2 weeks?
Yeah.
We were paid at that time on a weekly basis.
Okay, just a second. Your financial arrangement with her, according to you, Mr. Maloney, was that you would turn over your paycheck to her, she would pay all the household bills.
Yeah.
And you must have had a certain amount of pocket money that you took out.
Pretty much.
How did you get your pocket money?
Selling cars. I sold one of my cars. Lots of different places.
So your arrangement with her was you had certain fixed expenses. You had rent, right?
Yes.
You had utilities.
Yep.
You had food, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, did she have a car?
Yes.
Okay. And when you figured out the rent, utilities, and everything else, did you figure in your car payments?
Yeah.
Now, is what you're telling me for the time that you lived together, you never made any of your own car payments?
No, that's not what I'm telling you. We only lived together for about 3 months.
Right. Now, she's only claiming that she gave you money for 2 car payments. How did you pay for the car for the other month, according to you?
Well, sometimes I skipped months. I sold my Mustang, and I paid part of it off then.
That Mustang was not yours. That was your sister's.
Okay.
Actually, it's a long story.
Okay. Now, all right, let's leave the car for a moment. Let's get to something that I can sink my teeth into. Bail.
Okay.
Now, bail is not a fixed expense that one has.
No.
Now, at the time that you were arrested for DUI, were you employed?
Yes.
And what month was that?
I believe it was March.
May.
Okay.
Were you working in May?
Yeah, I was working.
So you were working. And all the time that you were living together, you would turn over your check to her?
Yes.
No, it was not the entire time. It lasted for about a month.
Which month?
February.
And what happened in March?
Mid-March is when, actually, it ended because he suddenly just started lying to me about his money.
When did you go on this vacation?
The 13th and 13th through the 15th.
Of March?
Of March.
And at the end of that month, he stopped giving you the paycheck?
He lied and said he did not get paid.
Now, how long did you live with him after March, the end of March?
He moved out of the townhome about the first week of May.
And when was he arrested for this DUI?
May 10th.
Oh, okay. Do you have any proof that you want to show me, sir?
I don't know, what kind of proof did you need? I mean, when you get down to it with like the whole credit card thing, you know, I told her, I don't want to go on this thing. I don't want to spend the money. You know, it's nothing I want to do. I want to, out of this relationship, I want away from you.
Yes.
She convinced me to do that, so we went. She said she'd pay. That's great. You know, we went, and after that it ended. It didn't work out. And then I moved out of the house. You know, I continued to pay my share of the bills, my rent, that kind of thing, because even though I wasn't living there, I was still responsible for the lease.
But you were not living there after March.
Yeah.
And yet you called her in May when you were arrested.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Now, if you were not living in the house at that time, Mr. Maloney, how can you say, sir, that you were turning over your paycheck to her and that all of these bills, including your bail bill, she should have taken out of the money you were giving her?
Well, the thing was with March that you said, I didn't move out.
May.
You were saying that I moved out in March, but I didn't. I moved out in May.
You told
or whenever
me.
It was.
You told me that right after the trip, which was in March,
yeah,
you came back and you moved out.
It's a real weird situation. You want me to tell you how I moved out? Everything was still there. I still stayed there on the weekend.
Just a second. Mr. Maloney,
my family
if
was
everything was still there and you still stayed there on the weekend, are you asking me to believe, sir, that you continued to turn over to Miss Nelson your paycheck? Is that what you're asking me to believe?
Yeah, I'll just drop it.
No, I'm asking you.
No,
are you asking me to
twisting my
believe?
words.
No,
You
I'm
know,
not twisting
I'm
your
trying
words.
to tell you how
I'm
it
not
was.
twisting your words, sir. I'm trying to come to the truth. Are you telling me that after you no longer were living full-time with the plaintiff, you continued to give her your paycheck? The answer is either yes or no.
That would be a no, but I did
Good.
pay her.
I've heard enough. Do me a favor, Bird. Add up this money, will you please? $400. $746. $161 and $238. Grand total.
$1,545, Judge.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,545. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She'd come down to work a few times. She called, you know, she pretty much wouldn't leave me alone. I had to have her escorted out of my new apartment by the police. But other than that, you know, I'm the bad guy.
It was very generous and very giving, and he just took complete advantage of it.
Stay away from the crazy ones.
Friend, 26-year-old Antonetta Margiata shouted profanities at another driver. The other driver answered by hitting Wanda's car. Wanda wants Antonetta to pay for the damage.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 588 on the calendar in the matter of Coriano versus Margiata. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Miss Coriano, this is your friend, Miss Margiata, who you say has a big, fresh mouth. And you say because she has a big, fresh mouth, while she was a passenger in your car, she irritated another driver who damaged your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you couldn't get that driver's
License
plate number, so you think she should be responsible for the damage to your car.
Yes, Your Honor.
So tell me how this all came about.
Okay, Your Honor. What happened was I was doing her a favor, and then I took her to a store, and I was dropping her off at her house, and she was taking a long time. She had my door wide open. She was with her baby, and There was a
She
car.
was taking a long time getting out of your car.
Getting out of my car. She's just like that. She likes to hold people up. And she had my car door wide open. And then there was a car who stopped. He was waiting patiently. And then she aggravated the situation. She cursed him out, yelling out all kind of profanities. And then he decided he was not going to wait. And he ran into my door, bending my door. And he turned the corner, and I was unable to see his license plate.
When you let her out of the car, she was getting out on which side of the car?
The right side.
Is that the traffic side?
It's a one-way street.
So she was getting out the traffic side because she was sitting in the front seat?
She was sitting in the back seat because she had her baby.
Well, if she had gotten out the other side of the car, she wouldn't have been in the traffic lane. Is that right?
Correct, but there was
Don't say but. If you had gotten out of the other side of the car, you wouldn't have been in the traffic lane.
Yes,
so the
but there
door.
was no...
I'm not finished. My mouth is still moving. You pull up, and there's a car parked. You're sitting in the back seat with the baby. Is that right? So you have two choices. Either you get out on the driver's side, which would have put you out of harm's way, along with your baby. You could have opened the door, and you could have spent 20 minutes getting out of the car. You chose to get out on the other side, which is behind the passenger, from passenger seat, and so you left the door open in the traffic lane. Is that right?
That's correct.
Why?
Because there was no room for me to come out on the left side. Okay? First of all, Your Honor, she's always parked. There's a church on the corner of my house that you can't park in front of it. She's always pulled over there to let me out. For some reason, she didn't want to pull over there. And there's a Johnny Pump across the street from my mother's house. She could have pulled in over there.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda. She pulled up where she did. Did you attempt to get out of the other side?
No, I couldn't open the door. How was I going to fit with me and my daughter?
Did you?
No, I didn't.
All right, so you could have.
No, there was no room. I looked, and there was no room for me to open the door.
Is that true?
She did not look.
No, she didn't look at all. Now, you get out of the car.
Okay.
You get out of the car, and you open up the door wide so that you can get out with the baby.
Yes.
Now, you acknowledge here that you cursed at this car that was waiting. Tell me why you cursed at this car that was waiting.
Okay. I was getting out with my daughter, and the blanket fell. Her blanket fell. So I was picking it up, and the man was inching up to me, so I was scared that he was going to just take off. So I said, can't people wait? And he just took off. It wasn't my fault. I had no control of this man's anger.
Just a second. Is that what you said? Can't you wait? Is that what you're telling me that you said?
No, I said a little bit more, but I don't think I could say it on TV.
You can say anything. I've heard everything. Tell me exactly what you said.
I said, can't you wait?
Well, that's different then. Could you please wait a second? I'm just picking up my daughter's blanket.
Yeah, but I was scared for my child and me.
So why didn't you get out the other side?
Because there was no room for me to get out.
Why didn't you say that there's no room for me to get out? Could you pull up a little bit so that I can get out the right side of the car?
It was drizzling out. We were in a rush. She wanted to go home because she wanted to find parking in front of her house.
Uh-huh. How much was your car to be fixed? Do you have a receipt?
Yes, I do.
Let me see it. Are you still friends with each other?
No.
When did you ask her to help pay this bill?
I asked her when the mechanic told me how much the price was. And
she didn't ask me how much. You did not tell me.
She didn't even want to tell her husband because he's the one that's working right now.
Yeah, and we just had a baby, Wanda.
Okay, because she put the baby in danger.
No, you put the baby in danger. You're the one that would double park. No, you're the one that double park.
Miss Marchiata.
Excuse me.
Miss Marchiata.
She's the one that double parked.
No, listen to me, madam. Listen to me. You have to take responsibility for your own actions. If you're in a car...
And she has to take responsibility of her own actions.
Are you trying to speak over me?
No.
Don't do it!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You didn't want her to tell your fiancé.
No.
Just a second, because you didn't want your fiancé to get angry with her?
Yes.
You are a wonderful person. We have to give her some sort of an award.
No, and...
A testimonial dinner, perhaps.
And later today...
What kind of bike were you supposed to receive?
It's a Yamaha dirt bike. I paid $500 for it.
And that's what you're suing for?
I want to replace it. The replacement cost is between $1,000 and $1,200.
Yeah, right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wanda Coriano is suing former best friend Antonetta Margiata for shouting at another driver, causing that driver to hit Wanda's car.
If I'm driving in a car with someone, even if I'm driving in the car with my husband, which occasionally happens, and he pulls up and and I have to run out of the car. And sometimes men don't pay attention. They drop you off in front of a large puddle. They drop you off in front of a large grate. You know, they don't pay attention. They'll say, open the car door, and they pull up next to a mailbox so that you can't get out. So you use your words, and you say, could you please pull up a little bit so that I can get out of the car, and I don't have to get out of the car in traffic. Now, I've said that to my husband. I've said that to friends, right? You chose not to do that. You chose just to get out of the car. That's not her fault. That's not her fault. That's your fault for not saying, I don't want to endanger my child or myself getting out of the car in the traffic lane, and I can't get out this side. The truth of the matter is, I don't even think you looked. But let's say you looked, and you couldn't open up the car door because you tried and you couldn't get out with your daughter. So you say, could you pull up a little bit in between the parked cars so that I can just get out and open the car a little bit more so I'm not endangering anybody? You chose not to do that. Well, you have a certain responsibility. I also think, Ms. Coriano, that you have a certain responsibility. You saw her getting out of the car on that side, right? You had a certain responsibility to say to her, close that door of my car, and I'll pull up and you get out this side because I don't want you or I don't want my car injured. You think you have that kind of responsibility?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I do too. She doesn't think she has any responsibility. She has half the responsibility.
Can I say something about her asking me for the money?
Sure.
Okay. She kept asking me to tell my fiance about the money. So I was like, why should I? Because he's going to blame more blame on her. Okay, so I was not going to let him curse her out. So I was decent enough as a friend not to let him know that she let me out and this happened. But she was...
just a minute. So let me understand this. You didn't want her to tell your fiancé.
No.
Just a second,
Okay.
because you didn't want your fiancé to get angry with her?
Yes.
You are a wonderful person. We have to give her some sort of an award.
No, and...
A testimonial dinner, perhaps. Yo, or $325. That's half of what it costs to fix the car. Pay it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Okay, she was taking a long time getting out of my car.
Hello, I had the baby in my arms.
She didn't even want to tell her husband because she knows if she would have told her husband, he would have been upset at her because she put the baby in danger by cursing.
He would have get mad at you, Wanza.
It's not your turn, so keep your mouth shut.
I just think she's a mean old witch. She don't have no friends. She's never gonna have any friends because of this case.
And now the next case.
All parties on Ellefson versus Jennings. Step forward, please.
41-year-old real estate agent David Ellefson is suing his ex-wife, 38-year-old Cheryl Ellefson, for his Yamaha dirt bike. Cheryl is countersuing for dental bills.
Mr. Ellefson, how long were you married to the defendant?
18 years.
You have children together?
4.
How old are the children?
They range from not 10 years old to 18.
Are they all living at home?
Yes.
With their mother?
With their mother, yes.
Your complaint is, sir, that according to your judgment of divorce, you were supposed to receive a certain bike, and that the defendant said she doesn't have it. What kind of bike were you supposed to receive?
It's a Yamaha dirt bike. Yeah, she said that it was stolen when the officer accompanied me to the house.
Okay, so you were supposed to receive this Yamaha dirt bike. When was it purchased?
I'm not quite sure. I don't have the receipt because it was at the house.
Probably, year?
Yeah, probably a year before, a year and a half.
What year was it purchased in? 1996, 1997?
Excuse me. It would have been about 94.
And how much was it purchased for, sir?
I paid $500 for it.
And that's what you're suing for?
I want to replace it. The replacement cost is about between $1,000 and $1,200.
Yeah, right. You paid $500 for it in 1994, It's the only dirt bike in creation that appreciates in value. You want $1,000 or $1,200 to replace it? How many dirt bikes do you have?
I had about 10 at the house.
How many do you have now?
None.
What happened to all the other ones?
I've had to sell them off.
Okay, so I assume that that's what you would want to do with this one, sell it.
No.
This one you had a sentimental attachment to.
No, it's the one I liked, yeah.
Okay. You have a cross complaint. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you nervous?
Yes, I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous. Your cross complaint is for two things. First, for a dental bill for one of your children. And then you say something about a van that was purchased jointly by the two of you.
Yes.
That the defendant allowed to be repossessed?
Yes.
Does that sound familiar to you?
I didn't allow it. It happened. It wasn't something I allowed.
Was the van given to you in the divorce decree?
Yes.
All right. What year van was this?
96.
And you didn't make payments on it?
I couldn't make the payments on it.
You didn't make the payments on it. The bank's not interested in whether you could or whether you couldn't. You didn't.
I couldn't make them, no.
So they repossessed it.
They did.
And they sold it at auction.
I believe so.
And as a result of that, there was a deficit in the amount of the loan. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have any documentation of that?
Yes, I do.
Can I see it, please?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You know, we're supposed to discuss stuff like that before she goes out and does it.
So your complaint is that she didn't consult you with regard to this dental care?
That's correct.
What kind of a father are you?
I'm a good father.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. David Ellefson is suing his ex-wife, Cheryl Ellefson, for his dirt bike.
Is your name on this loan?
Yes, it is. I think I'm a co-signer on it when we purchased it.
Well, what arrangements are you making, sir, to pay off this amount?
I haven't made any arrangements. They've called me and I've left messages for the person that's called and contacted me, and she never calls back.
Well, what arrangements are you going to make to pay off? There's a balance of $5,000 now on it.
I have to make arrangements with them. I don't know. I've returned their calls and they don't call me back.
You're not trying hard enough. It would seem to me that this bank wants to hear from you very badly. Well, this is your obligation. If you were given the property pursuant to the judgment of divorce and you allowed it to go into foreclosure, then it's your debt.
Well, she was going to let it go too, so.
If she was going to let it go, you should have given her the van. Right?
Yes.
Did you get a car pursuant to the judgment of divorce?
Yes.
What year car is that?
It's a 73.
So he got the newer car?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
She got the Mercedes.
Is that a 73 Mercedes?
Yes. Sports coupe.
No. It's 25 years old. It still runs okay?
Yes.
Okay. What about the dental bills for the child?
I took the kids to the dentist just for a routine 6-month check. So they had their teeth cleaned, and then 2 of our boys had to have some work done. And when I got the bill, I have paperwork, shows that they did not accept my insurance. So
why?
Because I just have Basic Health Plus for the kids, and they don't cover, my dentist does not accept that insurance.
Okay. What does your divorce decree provide with regard to the children's medical and dental needs? Are the parties to share the cost?
Yes.
Let me see.
Yeah, but what I brought you, Your Honor, is it states that she's supposed to, we're supposed to discuss stuff like that before she goes out and does it.
Just a second. You're talking about major decisions concerning the welfare of the children shall not be made without agreement?
Yes.
Is that what you're talking about? Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Your children have always had regular dental checkups, is that right?
That's correct. And when we were
Just a
not on
second.
insurance, we always took them to the, to the hygiene schools or something
Just
for
a
teeth
second.
cleaning.
Just a second. I'm not talking about teeth cleaning. I'm talking about fixing their cavities and having a regular dental check. The children always went for either their checkups every year or every 6 months.
That's correct.
Well, that's what she continued to do. So your complaint is that she didn't consult you with regard to this dental care.
That's correct.
What kind of a father are you?
I'm a good father.
How much child support do you pay?
$1,200.
Do you pay it?
Yes.
Does he pay it?
Yes, I usually get it towards the end of the month. It's late, but he does pay it.
Okay. What kind of work do you do?
I was going to school. I hadn't worked when we were married. So I went to college, and since our divorce, I quit that, and I clean houses.
Okay. Do you have the bill from the dentist?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
No.
Your agreement provides that each of you are responsible for half of the children's non-covered medical and dental?
No, because he makes quite a bit more than I do. In the divorce decree, I have that I pay 8%, and he pays the remainder.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Now tell me what happened to this dirt bike that he wants.
We had a lot of dirt bikes in the garage, a lot of kids and adult bikes. And in our divorce decree, it states that he gets 5 adult motorcycles. And I had sold 2 of the bikes to a friend just for money. And the bike that I chose, it was a Yamaha.
So you sold this bike that he wants?
Yes, to a friend.
All right.
But the reason I took that one is because we got it at a garage sale. And so I felt, there was many bikes in the garage, much more than 5 adult bikes. I just picked that one. That was before I realized that he wanted that one.
Okay. Well, this is a relatively easy case to deal with, so I'm going to deal with it 2 seconds. Mr. Ellefson, according to your statement to me earlier, you said you paid $500 for this bike in 1994.
That's right.
Assuming that what you say is true, I am going to give you full credit for what you paid for the bike, $500. On the counterclaim that I have, however, your former wife has demonstrated to my satisfaction that you owe her $6,006, $847.62 for the children's dental care, and the amount that you stuck her with regard to this van that you allowed to be repossessed, $5,159. So I am going to deduct the $500 from that. Leaves about $5,500, sir, and the maximum judgment of this court can be $5,000. So you get nothing, and she gets $5,000. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back, go to your right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I lost.
He's just angry at the way things have been going.
Marriage problems.
I just want to have it over and have a better relationship with the kids and their father. And I hope this will do it.
"20-year-old Anna Marie Anderson for the return of a wedding gift, a 1988 Monte Carlo."
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Sir. Judge, this is case number 623 on the calendar in the matter of Chavez versus Anderson.
Thank
Partners
you.
have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Have a seat. Have a seat.
Ms. Chavez, according to your complaint, the defendant and your son were engaged to be married, and as a pre-wedding gift, you bought them a car. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
Well, the wedding was postponed, according to what I read, by the defendant. At that time, your son went to jail.
Correct.
What did he go to jail for?
Auto theft.
Auto theft. Was this the first time he was in jail?
Yes, it was.
How long was he in jail for?
He was incarcerated for 6 months.
And during that time, the defendant drove the car.
Correct.
With everybody's permission.
Correct.
Then your son got out of jail and he wanted the car back, or you wanted the car back because they weren't getting married anymore.
Correct.
Probably wise. You found out that the defendant had registered the car in her own name, whereas it had previously been registered in both names. Is that right?
Correct. It was registered as Richard Chavez and Anna Marie Chavez.
Well, she wasn't a Chavez yet.
No.
And you want the money that you paid for the car?
Correct.
Why?
Well, what happened is I asked Anna when she had asked me if she could borrow the car. I told her, sure, Richard's incarcerated, take the car, you have the baby, you need transportation, I
So
understand.
they had a baby?
Yes. I go, I understand, use the car, but either buy Richard out or the car has to come back because Richard has to go to work. She's like, fine, okay. So then Anna had called me after Richard was incarcerated about a month and a half later, and she had informed me that she was going to stay at her dad's, that it was going to be over. Her dad said that it had to end.
You mean the relationship had
Correct.
to end?
I'm like, fine. She goes, I want to come over to the house and pick up the rest of my things and the baby's things. I go, fine, that'll be okay, but let me know when you come over. I'd like to be at the house when you do come. She's like, well, okay, I told her. And since you're going to come and pick up the things and it's over between you and Richard, I'd like the car back. And she got real quiet, and so we ended the conversation. That was it. So then about 2 weeks passed by, didn't hear anything. All of a sudden on my cell phone, I get a message. Anna had called and said, I'm on my way to your house. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Which I was at work. She got to the house. Everything was gone.
You mean
I
her
called
things?
her back. All her things, the baby's things, everything.
They had been living with you?
Yes. Okay. So then I had tried calling her, which she wouldn't answer her cell phone number. I called her house, no answer. So I drove up there and asked her, what was the deal? I asked her that I wanted to be there when she came to the house, what was going on. I asked her for the car at the time. Her dad came out and said, talk to my attorney. I'm like, no, I want to talk and find out what's going on. I want to know why Anna came to the house without my permission, without me being there. I go, it's only fair. I bent over backwards for that year that Anna lived with me to make life simple for her. And her dad, well, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you. Tried shutting his electric gate.
That's really not important. That's really not important. You didn't get the car back.
No.
And you think you're entitled to the car back?
Correct.
Why?
Because it was a wedding gift and the wedding never took place. We went on vacation. At the time I bought the car, it was 1 week before we went on vacation. They were to be married in Vegas. We went to Vegas. We had our family vacation. Her dad had asked her to postpone the wedding because they could not afford to go with us. I'm like, that's fine.
Okay. Let me hear your side.
Okay, what happened was when I moved in with him, my parents didn't want me to, but I did because I loved him then. And so when I went over there, Richard already had this truck. So we were using it to go to work, to take me to my appointments because I found out I was pregnant. And then one night, Richard's dad was drinking, and Mrs. Chavez told us that we all need to go to a motel. So we all went to a motel, and we took their two trucks.
The two of you
All
and
of us.
Mrs. Chavez.
And Michelle and her brother. And
so leaving just the husband
right.
home drinking.
And we took their two trucks and left Richard's there, which his dad knows how to hotwire the truck. So that's what he did, and then he wrecked the truck. And the reason they bought us a car was because the truck was wrecked, not for a wedding gift, because that's not what they told me.
What did they tell you?
They told me it was because the truck got wrecked, and we needed a car because they didn't want to take us to our work and to my appointments.
Okay. A couple of questions with regard to timing. Okay. When had the wedding been planned? When was it supposed to take place?
For August 24th.
And when was this incident with the truck that Mr. Chavez wrecked?
It was about 2 weeks before.
And when did they buy the new car? When did Mr. Chavez buy it?
A week later after the truck got wrecked.
Is that correct so far?
We bought it August the 20th. The truck was wrecked in September.
Truck was wrecked in September?
Yes, my husband wrecked it in September. He went to go test drive it. He hit the brake in the truck's.
This thing about being drunk doesn't...
No, because he had went in and they had gave him a blood alcohol test because he had hit his knee and he came out .04. So he was not
He was
drunk.
driving the truck when he hit his knee?
Yes, when he hit the truck, the parked truck, when
Just
he
a
hit...
second. Just a second. She is correct then that you were all in a motel because your husband was drinking.
Correct.
And he was being violent.
No. He was
potentially, because you don't go to a motel with the whole family unless you're afraid to be in the house with somebody when they're drinking.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you under a child support order?
Yes.
Don't shake your head. He doesn't need his mother to take care of him. I'm sure he did a lot of growing up in jail.
And later today...
Listen, I don't want to hear your script, madam. I asked you a question. I said, did you pay him $212.50 for October?
I don't remember if I did or not.
I don't believe you.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Genevieve Chavez is suing her son's ex-fiancé, Anna Marie Anderson for the return of a wedding gift, a 1988 Monte Carlo.
Okay. So you all go to a motel. He takes the car. He hot wires the truck, and he's in an accident.
Correct.
Okay. And a week later, a week after this, you bought the new car?
Correct.
Well, it was a used car.
Correct.
And you bought the used car and told them to put it in their names.
Correct, as a wedding gift. Now, see.
Who said wedding gift?
I did.
Is that correct?
I didn't hear her say wedding gift to me. It was because of the truck got wrecked.
When I bought the car, I purchased it as Chavez. I did not purchase it as Anderson.
Well, you allowed them to put it in both their names, whether she was known as Anderson or Chavez. It really doesn't make any difference. The interesting thing that I find with regard to your answer is you want money for this car.
The car's broken. It's on blocks. It's not repairable. I can't even get next to the car. When we went to her dad's house, he started shooting at us.
It was because
she's not going to pay you for the car, Miss Chavez. There is no way she's going to pay you for the car. If anything, this gift was given to two people. It was given to her. It was given to your son. Your son, by virtue of his incarceration, couldn't drive it. She drove it. If anything, because it was a wedding gift, one could say morally, you would be entitled to the truck back. She's willing to give you the truck back. Is that right? That's what
No, she did not. I told Richard, because he told me that his mother was going to sue my dad. And I said, if you guys want the car so bad, you can have it. And he said, no, my mom wants money. They didn't want the car.
Is this Richard?
Your Honor.
Is that you? Step up here.
She had made that statement after the car was already on blocks and broke it.
Well, listen, this was not a new car. This was not a new car.
No, it's a second-owner car.
It was a second-hand car.
Correct.
Not only was it a second-hand car, but it is now 11 years old.
Correct. I have the police report here stating when I went over there to get the car, she refused to give it to me.
Well, but she says right now, she says if you threatened to sue her, you told her she could have you could have the car. The car wasn't running, needs a new transmission. The car's 11 years old. She's not going to pay you what you bought for it, what you paid for it. If anything, it was a gift that was bought for both of them. She's entitled to half, and he would be entitled to half.
I told her that, Your Honor. I told her when she had the car, buy Richard out. It's not fair that Richard's walking after I put out for the car. She didn't want to.
That's not unreasonable. That is not unreasonable. So there are two options here. Either she can pay you for half of the car, which is you paid $26 for it, which is $1,300.
Correct.
Or she can give you back the whole car.
And that's what I had stated to her.
Fine. You have a child?
Yes, ma'am.
You see the child?
Every once in a while. Not as much as I'm supposed to be seeing him.
When he pays me child support, he can see him.
Just a second. Have you gone to court with regard to the child?
Yes, I have, ma'am.
Are you under a child support order?
Yes.
Don't shake your head. He doesn't need his mother to take care of him. Sure, he did a lot of growing up in jail. How much child support do you pay?
About $112 every 2 weeks.
Is that what he pays?
He's supposed to pay $125 a month, and he pays it, when he pays me, but after he's supposed to pay me, so that's why I hesitate to take Brandon over there. But he pays me.
Do you have a visitation order?
Yes, I do.
What's the visitation order?
Twice a week, and I don't see him twice a week.
Well, then what you have to do, Mr. Chavez, is go back to court and file a petition for violation of the order of visitation, because, Ms. Anderson, he is supposed to see this child. You picked him to father this child. Not only does he have a right to see this child, but the child has a right to know that he has not been abandoned by his father. So you don't set the rules. It's not your determination. You picked him. He's the father. That you can't change. He's supposed to see the child regularly. And you ought to make sure that that happens. It's not the right thing to do, for your son's sake, not to see his father at least every single week. Mm-hmm. You understand? You want to return the car to them?
Yes.
Within 5 days, the car is to be returned to the Chavezes. Thank you.
All right, so excuse you may step out.
They just care about money. That's all they've ever cared about. That's all they ever talk about is money.
She talks about that all we talk about is money, but when Anna lived in my house, she sure did enjoy spending it.
I would like him to be a part of my child's life because he needs a father, but if he's going to, act the same way as he did before, I don't want my son to have a father like that.
He's willing to take care of his kids, and she's keeping him from his kid, and it's not fair to my nephew to be taken away from his dad the way he is.
I look forward to see him every week, but she don't bring him like she's supposed to. I at least do my part.
And now the next case.
All parties on Sandoval versus Goff. Step forward, please.
41-year-old producer Edward Sandoval claims former live-in lover, model Carol Goff, owes for rent and storage fees paid while she was in jail.
Mr. Sandoval, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were in a relationship and living together.
Yes, ma'am.
There was some sort of an altercation between the two of you. Subsequently, another altercation, which resulted in two things. Resulted in the defendant being arrested and incarcerated. Is that right?
That criminal matter is being worked out right now as we speak.
You were incarcerated?
That's true.
For how long?
I can't remember how long.
6 nights.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I didn't ask you to ask him any questions.
Okay.
If you think you can come here and play around with me, I guarantee on your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Do you understand?
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Edward Sandoval is suing former live-in lover, Carol Goff, for rent and storage fees after he kicked her out.
Your lawsuit asks for a piece of rent and storage fees. So tell me why you think she owes you money.
She moved in under agreement that she would pay half the rent, which is $212.50. On the month of November, she only paid $100, so she owes me $112.50.
What else?
Back storage fees.
Tell me about the storage fees.
I moved her property into protective storage when...
What's protective storage? I had never heard that term before.
To protect her property, I moved it out of the house.
Was this a private storage company?
Yes, ma'am. Valley Mini Storage. $60.75 a month. I've paid 3 months.
Did you have to pay 3 months in advance?
No, ma'am. She just refused to get a hold of me. I served her notice. The day that she got out of jail, I made arrangements with her father to move her into the Days Inn using his credit card. And I moved everything she needed, all her clothing, everything, all her cosmetic stuff, because she had some job interviews that day. And I packed all her stuff up, put it in storage. I took everything that she needed.
What stuff did you put into storage?
Carol's got quite a bit of stuff, all brand new within the last 2 years or so. And it's a complete household full of stuff. She completely filled a 10-by-10 storage unit. Some really nice stuff, leather couches and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved all her stuff into the Days Inn that she needed that day to do her job interviews, everything I could think of to make it comfortable for her. And that day I told her how to reclaim her property back. And up to this day, she has never contacted the landlord. So I started taking
Why did you have to contact the landlord for?
Because I helped the landlord move the stuff out, and I just thought that it would be better for her to deal with him, to go through him.
So how much did you pay altogether?
3 months, 3 times $60.75.
$180.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What else?
That's it, ma'am.
Okay. Now, is her property still in storage?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes, my property is still in storage.
Is the stuff in storage in your name?
Yes, ma'am.
In your name?
She has no access to the storage unit.
I had the receipt right here.
Can I see it, please?
Sure.
First, tell me, why were you incarcerated?
That criminal matter is being worked out right now as we speak. I have a criminal lawyer.
Okay. I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay.
This really is about only 2 items. Do you have proof that you gave him $212.50 for the rent for November?
Let's see. Okay, I shouldn't have to pay rent because I was evicted and because there was no agreement between him and I that I pay rent. I did help him.
When did you move into the apartment? What month?
September, for the last 2 weeks of September.
He moved me in.
Were you there in September? Strike September. Were you there in October?
I was there in October.
Did you pay rent in October?
There was no agreement between him
Listen,
and I to pay
I don't want to
rent.
hear your script, madam. I asked you a question. I said, did you pay him $212.50 for October?
Did I pay him for October?
Yes.
Do you have a receipt for that?
All right, here we go. I didn't ask him. I asked you.
Did you, in fact, give him $212.50 for October for rent?
I don't remember if I did or not.
I don't believe you. How much is the entire rent?
$425 per month.
All right. Mr. Sandoval, did she, in fact, in October pay you $212.50?
Yes, ma'am.
She did?
Yes, she did. She paid the landlord.
Directly?
Yes, ma'am. And she received a receipt for that.
Do you have the receipt?
I didn't ask you to ask him any questions.
Okay.
I didn't ask you to ask him any questions. If you think you can come here and play around with me, I guarantee on your best day, you're not as smart as I am on my worst day. Do you understand?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
Now let's talk about the stuff that you have in storage. And these are your options. Either the court will prepare an order declaring that all property there is his, and he can take it and sell it and recoup the $180 that he spent on storage fees, or you pay him $180 and then the stuff is yours and you can continue to pay for storage, or you can get the stuff out of storage. So you have to, for one moment, think for a moment whether all the stuff that you have in storage is worth more than $180. And if it is more valuable than $180, I strongly urge you to take option number 2, door number 2, which is pay him the $180 and then you're finished with each other. What do you want to do?
Door number 2.
Door number 2. That's what I thought. Very good idea. Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $292, $112 for rent and $180 for storage. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She says that I was too old for her. She wants somebody younger. And that surprised me because she's only a few years younger than me. I told her, well, I guess you're too old then. I'm sitting on my computer. She comes up behind me, and with both hands, she's pulling my hair. She's growling, pulling my hair all kinds of different ways. So then I turn around, and as I turn around to protect myself, she grabs my arm and breaks her nails in my skin. So I went downstairs. I called the police and charged her with the harassment. And she fought the police. She stuck her finger in the policeman's face and says, nobody's getting arrested here. Because she had tried to get on the phone and talk to her lawyer. She says, nobody's getting arrested here because I'll put a lawsuit on you so quick it'll make your head spin. With her hand still in the air, they handcuffed his hand, they spun her around, bent her over the sink, and she started fighting them.
That's a criminal matter that my criminal attorney is taking care of right as we speak. I would say about 90% of it was a lie.
I had to go get the police. I had no recourse. She dealt the cards. So the police show up. She's in her bikini with a thong up her butt, barefoot, and they march her off to jail.
Yeah, that happened.
Moriarty claims flight instructor Laszlo Peterfey is responsible for his plane running out of gas, forcing him to land on a California freeway. Elliott says he now suffers from fear of flying.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 648 on the calendar in the matter of Moriarty versus Peterfey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. Moriarty, I really, after all these years on the bench, thought that I had seen everything until I read your complaint. You were taking flying lessons.
Yes, Your Honor.
From him?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long did you take flying lessons from him?
I believe it was approximately 3 months.
Had you taken flying lessons from anyone else?
Not flying lessons, but a thrill ride at Torrance Airport.
What?
A thrill ride.
Thrill ride?
Right.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm an assistant manager.
What kind of company?
A restaurant.
You get to the restaurant by driving your car?
Bike.
You don't have a car?
No, Your Honor.
How old are you?
28 now.
So you were taking flying lessons, and then there came a time when you were flying solo, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you ran out of gas?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you landed on a freeway?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you're suing him?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now you can explain that to me.
The explanation is this, Your Honor, that upon my entire training, I was never trained or taught on how to fuel an airplane. It's not like a car. I've asked him one time before, how do you fuel up? He told me, don't worry about it now, I'll show you later.
Fuel up. Now, what do you have to do to fuel up? When you're driving a car, you pull into either one of two lanes. Either it says full service, the one that I like, or self-service, the one that I don't understand at all. And then you get out, and I've seen people, they open up the thing, and they put the thing in the thing, and you fill up your car with gas.
I understand.
Does it work the same way with a plane?
No, Your Honor.
Do you put the gas in the plane?
No, Your Honor.
So somebody else puts the gas in a plane?
Yes, Your Honor.
So you go to a plane gasoline station.
No, what happens is, I guess you call somebody, either a frequency or by phone,
Yes.
and I was never included in...
You don't want me to think you're stupid, do you? So just answer my question. Periodically, a plane needs gasoline because it doesn't fly on dreams.
Right.
Now, is there a gauge in the plane that it says fuel?
Yes, there is, Your Honor.
And it has a little stick? Because I know about that stick. With the cars today, they even talk to you. You're out of gas, you're out of gas. But I assume that they don't have that in planes. They have a gauge. You do know how to look at the gauge.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when it starts to get on empty,
well, I can give you the explanation.
Then you say to yourself, I think I need gas.
Well, here it is, Your Honor. Upon my solo cross-country, I have to perform a dual cross-country. Throughout that dual cross-country, we did not fuel up at Santa Barbara or Santa Ynez, which...
So just a second. You went together
yes.
on a dual cross-country.
Beforehand.
Before you went solo.
Yes, Your Honor.
And during that trip, you didn't fuel.
No, Your Honor. We fueled up at Van Nuys, and when I made my flight plan, I put 4.5 hours, which is a direct reflection of a full tank for the type of aircraft I was flying. Now, his job as an instructor is to review my flight plan and to make sure there's no mistakes on it whatsoever. Upon his evaluation of my reviewing my flight plan, he just, I don't know, totally missed it. And we together went down, did a check, checked the airplane. I checked the fuel on the wings to make sure that it corresponds with the amount of fuel on the needle, which was approximately, if I remember correctly, about 2/3. I told him what it was in there. It was fine with him. So I'm the student, and he's the instructor. If it's fine with him, I felt, okay, then his judgment is correct.
Before I got in a plane, there'd be a full tank of gas, that's for sure. I mean, if I were ever stupid enough to get in a plane unless I had to go someplace.
Right, but he was totally aware of how much fuel I had. He didn't say anything about it.
You have no responsibility for this. I understand from here, from your papers, that you have footage of you landing on the freeway?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm dying to see that.
Very lucky, Your Honor.
Look at that plane. Looks like something you put together with those little sticks. One fits in, you know what I'm talking about, Bert? Remember those things we used to have as kids? With balsam wood?
That's right.
Right? Flat thing, and you put one in the other, and you rubber band, and you
glider,
go?
Little glider.
Wouldn't trust my life to one of those things.
Your Honor?
What?
Okay, well, first of all, see, all this started over him refusing to pay me my unused fee. After the incident, I basically induced naturally this fear of flying. I discontinued it.
So is this what it's about? You discontinued your flying, and you want your money back for what you didn't use?
Let me clarify that really good. Okay, when I discontinued, I wanted the remainder of my unused fees.
Right.
Now, he sent me a check the first time for $90.
How much do you think it is?
$147.
$147?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So why are you suing him for $3,100?
That's what I would like to get into. This basically escalated up to this point because when he decided to keep my money as if that wasn't enough experience for me, it made me rethink everything over again. And this is what I concluded that, okay, I ran out of fuel, I landed on the freeway. Okay, whose fault is it? Was it really my fault or was it his fault? When I rethought everything over, throughout my training, I've been given inadequate training and lack of supervision. His lack of supervision is not reviewing my flight plan correctly, as he is responsible to do so by the federal aviation regulations. And in one of his letters, he stated to me, without dispute, he will refund my money back. As of to date, he has not.
Refund how much money?
The $147.
Fine, I have no problem with giving you back your $147. I have a problem with $3,100.
Well, if I can
you don't
establish...
if you don't like, sir, the kind of instruction that you're getting from a pilot, then you say, I'm not satisfied with the quality of the training that you're giving me. What you're saying to me is a 28-year-old man who lands his plane on a freeway and walks away without a scratch, instead of getting down on the floor and thanking God that you landed on the freeway, decided to sue somebody. That's America.
No, Your Honor.
That's America. Not only decide to sue them for the remainder of your outstanding fees that you had already prepaid, that even I could understand, but sue them for everything else because we're a country of a lot of navel gazers. You know, you sit down here and say, now let me see, $147, but I really think that he gave me a fear of flying, and he didn't train me right all the 3 months I was a student, and you had a lot of time to think about it. You're lucky you weren't thinking about it with all of your appendages and casts. Don't be ridiculous.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When you wrote him the letter, you should have said, here's the check for $147. I'm very sorry you're not using my services anymore. Goodbye and good luck. And next time, try an airport.
And later today,
You used her library card and you took out 23 books. And then she starts getting billed for $1,000 because you didn't return the books. Baloney.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Elliot Moriarty says his flight instructor, Laszlo Peterfey, is responsible for his plane running out of gas, forcing him to land on a California freeway. Laszlo is countersuing for loss of work.
Now, let's get to your ridiculous counterclaim. You want to tell me about it, or you just want to say, I'm sorry, I'm withdrawing it?
Actually, no, ma'am.
All right, so now I'm ready for you.
The counterclaim is I wrote Mr. Moriarty a letter stating that I don't want to dispute the $147. And several days after this, I got a letter from the FAA. And based on the information that Mr. Moriarty provided the FAA, they wrote me a letter saying that if I don't respond within 10 days, my pilot certificates will be suspended.
Mm-hmm.
My livelihood is flying. So this jeopardized my career.
But they did not remove your certification.
Well, I had to go for a re-examination.
Just a second. You had a hearing and had to go for a recertification. Is that right? Now, what you're suggesting, sir, is that he does not have the right to complain about what he believes is inadequate training to the appropriate authority, which in this case was the FAA. Well, the First Amendment to the Constitution says you can complain to anybody about anybody else as long as you are not doing it out of malice. And I believe that even though he's wrong, he believes, after looking at his belly button for a long time, that you didn't give him adequate training, because if you had given him adequate training, he wouldn't have taken off in a plane that didn't have a full tank of gas.
Well, I can prove that I gave him adequate training.
Listen to me. He says he showed you the flight plan when he was going solo, that there was 3/4 of a tank of gas there, and he says he landed on the freeway. All right? So he said he didn't get adequate training. He's allowed to complain to you. I am not going to give him $3,100 that he's asking for, because as far as I'm concerned, he's a grown man, and a grown man who drives a car and who drives a plane ought to know that when the needle goes to empty, you got to get gas. So I'm going to give him his $147, and I tell you, sir, that it would have been wiser for you, instead of responding to him and saying to him, I will not dispute your $147, when you wrote him the letter, should have sent him a check. Should have said, here's the check for $147. I'm very sorry you're not using my services anymore. Goodbye and good luck. And next time, try an airport.
Your Honor. Your Honor, I have a witness here who is a certified flight instructor. He also has an airline transport pilot rating. He has come to me on his own because he evaluated me, and he would like to provide some expert testimony on my training.
About what?
About my inadequate training and lack of supervision I was provided.
Listen to me. Do you tap dance?
No, Your Honor.
If you take tap dancing lessons and you don't like the instructor, then you don't use the instructor, you go someplace else.
Your Honor, but when I'm the student, how do I know if I'm being provided with good training?
You mean you had to land on the freeway to figure out that you weren't getting good training? Come on.
No,
Wake up, start taking some response. I mean, you have to laugh at this.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, do you have to laugh at this?
Yeah, there's some things that are missing, though.
There are things that are missing there.
There are
One
holes
thing
in
that are
my
missing are
training.
your eyes. Just a second. One thing that are missing are your eyes. If you're a big enough boy to get behind the wheel of a plane and you're riding along and it starts to turn on empty, what you do is you pick up a phone and you say, help. You know, you don't fly until you fly all the way on empty. You know, how many of us have driven with our husbands and we say, it's on empty. Don't tell me it's on empty. I have plenty of gas.
But Your Honor, there's
Right?
clear violations here.
I suggest you stay on your bike. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $147. Counterclaim.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's two things I knew. I knew at what age I'm going to die, and I knew how I was going to die.
He flew over 10 airports where he had a chance to fuel. I also told him to fuel during the flight.
He reminded me about refueling in Santa Barbara. Before I left on my solo, he reminded me again to refuel in Santa Barbara. Duh.
I don't know. I mean, there's basically pirates in the sea. I never met a pirate in the sky before.
And now the next case.
All parties on Besesden versus Barajas Beckley. Step forward, please.
22-year-old newspaper reporter Victoria Bessedin claims 21-year-olds Rosie Barajas and Minta Beckley used her library card to check out 23 books. They didn't return them, leaving Victoria with a $1,000 library fine.
Miss Besettin, did you go to college?
I just finished.
Where did you go to college?
Cal State University, San Bernardino.
And you ladies go to school?
Not right now.
Well, you did a while ago, is that right?
Mhm.
Where were you going to school?
San Bernardino Valley College.
And you?
San Bernardino Valley College.
For some reason, these two ladies wanted to use your library.
Yes.
In your school.
Yes.
And you could take books out. Take your hands out of your pockets. And you could take books out of your library. These young ladies said, could we take some books out on your card? You said, okay.
That is not what happened.
Fine, tell me what happened.
Okay, we had a report to do for a class. What happened was that we were all friends at the time. She knew we had a report to do. She offered her library card because we could not find the books in our library. She offered for us to use her library card.
So that's come close. She offered or you asked, whatever it was, it doesn't make any difference. You used her library card and you took out 23 books. And then she starts getting billed for $1,000 because you didn't return the books.
We did return the books.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can understand maybe one book turning up missing, but for all 23 books to turn up missing, there lacks statistical probability for that. You know, you're looking at me smiling like an idiot. You know that.
Closed captioning, sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Victoria Bessedin loaned her library card to Rosie Barajas and Minta Beckley. They checked out 23 books and didn't return them. Victoria wants her $1,000 library fine paid.
Tell me how you returned the books.
What happened was the books had not been turned in. She was notified. She called me. I think the books had been due like 3 days before. I remember that I had not turned in the books. Called her, and it was during the evening. We did not turn in the books that same day that she called me, but we did go the next day to turn them in. I had called her to tell her that if she wanted me to take the books to her, she can turn them in. She said,
why should she do that? You used the books.
Because
why should she carry back 23 books to the library that you used?
I just said if she wanted to turn them in, or does she want me to turn them in.
So you didn't turn them in for 3 days. Is that right?
Yeah, it was, well, 4 days because it was the next day.
Now, when you turned them in, where did you turn them in?
Into a box. A drop box.
Baloney. You want me to tell you why it's baloney? Because I can understand maybe one book turning up missing, maybe 2 books turning up missing. But for all 23 books to turn up missing, there lacks statistical probability for that if you return the books. So you didn't return the books.
We did return the books.
Even if you say you returned the books, this bill is your responsibility, not hers. She didn't take them out. She didn't use them. She didn't return them late. You did. Why should she have to pay?
It was her library card.
What?
And we did
Just a
turn
second. Say that one more time for me. One more time, because it's her library card?
And we did turn in the books. It's not our fault that the library does say that we did not turn the books in.
I just said to you, I'm assuming, for the purpose of this, that you did return the books, which you did not. But assuming that you did, and assuming that the library lost them, but she not only received a bill for them, but according to you, you couldn't get your diploma. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that right? Why should she suffer because of the fact that you took out these books? Did you report from them? You used them? You did not act responsibly in not returning them on time? You know, you're looking at me smiling like an idiot. You know that. How much did this cost you in the library?
$1,000.70, Your Honor. And that's just for the cost of the books, replacing them, and the overdue fees. I'm not asking for anything more. I had to go to college an extra term. I'm not asking to get that money refunded.
I want to tell you something. If you did, I might have given it to you because I know what happens. Exactly. Let me see the letters from the library.
Yes.
Fools.
That's the original one. That's the current one.
Two fools.
Why wouldn't we have to?
The pink one, Your Honor, is the current list that shows that the books have still not been found as of almost 2 years ago.
Did you ever get your diploma?
No, ma'am. And I'm trying to apply to my master's program at Cal State Fullerton, and I can't
Is the reason that you can't get your degree because of the outstanding books?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
When she told you that she was having this problem, what did you say to her?
We had agreed to go to the library together to talk about this twice. She would always change the date.
Why didn't you just go to the library?
I did go to the library once.
And what happened?
And they told me that I needed to know exactly the books, and I had no way of contacting her to know what, because they needed to know the titles of the books so they can look for them.
How would she know the titles? You used the books.
Well, how would I know them? There are 23 books. I know what they were about, but I didn't know the title.
How would she know the titles if you took out the books? You had them.
Because they were under her library card, so it would show up on there what books were checked out.
You have to be a little more diligent, madam. I know that you have a very busy schedule here. I can see that you have a very busy schedule, but you have to be more diligent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000.70. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
You're welcome.
The face, fighting over a parking space. Nicole claims Katie started it.
All rise.
Your Honor, this is case number 555 on the calendar in the matter of Sasay versus Hannah. Parties have been sworn in. Be seated.
Over a parking space? Over a parking space?
It was more so than a parking space. It's more than that.
Ladies, where are you a student, Mrs. A?
Temple University.
And you live close by to the university?
Across the street from it.
You had placed one of those orange cones in a parking space in front of your house.
Yes.
Now, you know you're not supposed to do that.
We have a resident parking signs in front of our door.
That's okay.
Because Temple students parks all in front of your door, and they got parking lots and never use it.
There are no signs where she lives.
I have a picture of the resident.
Just a second. You know that you're not supposed to put a cone out there to save a parking space, but that's what you did. She wanted to park in that spot. She gets to that spot because she's late for class or whatever. She takes the cone, she starts to move it away. You're looking from your window, you see her moving the cone. You say, don't touch that, I'm saving that spot for somebody. She says, I'm parking here. And the fight was on. So you come tear-assing downstairs, and you get into this altercation, right?
That could have been avoided.
After she bumped me with her car.
Because I did not see her.
Just a second. Well, you're standing back there in the place where she wants to park.
Yes.
Well, first of all, Miss Hannah, you look like an otherwise intelligent young woman. Why in the world would anybody stand in the street when somebody's parking the car Just pay attention. You're standing in the street where she's parking a car. When I said to you, when we started, this is over a parking space. That's what it was over a parking space. I wouldn't stand there. What if she's really a nut? And instead of just maybe tapping you with the car, she runs over you with the car over a parking space. I mean, it's ridiculous. All right, so you're down there and you've got the cone, and you say she tapped you with the car. So you ran around to the driver's side of the car. Then tell me what happened.
I asked her, do you have insurance to be bumping me with your car like that? And she said, yes, I do. You want all the information? I said, yes, I do, if you're going to get like that. And she said, as I was talking with her, I was pointing to her. She rolled her window up and smashed my finger inside her window.
Now, I read that, Miss Hannah. She couldn't have smashed your finger in the car window if your hand wasn't in her car.
I was pointing to her.
No. If you're pointing to her outside her car, then your finger doesn't get smashed if the window goes up.
She
okay?
did.
Just a second. But if your finger is inside her car and the window goes up, then your finger gets caught in the car. So what was your hand doing in her car?
Because I was pointing to her after she bumped me with her car from behind.
So you put your hand in her car, and she proceeded to close the window.
Judge Judy, what actually happened was her car I need to say first that her car was already parked. She's saving the parking spot for who I don't know. Her Sebring was parked right behind mine where I was attempting to park at. As I was parking the car, she went behind it, I guess, to replace the cone that I had backed up. I didn't know I bumped her. I didn't see her when I was reversing. Matter of fact, I was actually getting ready to put the car in park when she was already behind the car. She comes around to my driver's side window, and she's telling me she needs insurance. I said, fine. My glove compartment was, locked because that's why I keep my insurance in the area. I have to lock it. I have to turn the key, turn the car off to go into my glove box to get the insurance. At the same time, the type of car I have an automatic window. When you turn the key off the ignition and you hit the window switch, the windows automatically come up. The only way to bring the windows back down is to turn the car back on. I was going to the glove box to get it out. Meanwhile, her hand gets caught in the window because she's insisting on pointing at me, putting her hand in my window. Just like you said, her hand wouldn't have gotten caught had she not put her hands in my window.
All right, so her hand got caught in the window. And then what happened?
I got I'm still trying to get it out the box. She's fussing now with the window. The window went all the way up. Her hand is stuck. My door was still open because from the time when I got out of the car to move the cone. So in that manner, she opens the door, still trying to get her hand out, and she's yelling at me to turn the car on so that I could turn the window down. I told her, first of all, calm down, because the way she was jerking the door and carrying on, if I just took the window down, so on and so forth, it would have escalated to a physical altercation, because at that point, I think she was really pissed off because her hand got caught. Finally, however way she did it, she got her hand out of the window. I'm still not paying her any kind of attention. Once she gets her hand out of the window, she's still talking. I'm like, whatever, I'm getting my insurance information. She can file a claim if that's what she wants to do. I'm getting in the club to lock my car up. The club is still in my hand. She's still ranting and raving. She's still at my door. I get out of my car. The door never closed. She never closed the door.
Because my hand was in the window.
I got out of my car with my club. At this time, she grabbed my club. I don't know, I guess she thought I was going to hit her with it or whatever the case may be. I didn't take my club out of my car to assault her with it. The club was just already in my hand to lock my steering wheel up. I'm not a violent person, and furthermore, I don't need a club, to get into any kind of,
How was your club in
altercation.
your hand if you go on in your glove department?
Listen, you're going to have a chance. You're going to have a chance.
Continuing. She grabs the club. We're struggling over the club. Her girlfriend's telling her to let the club go. She's telling her, no, she's not going to let the club go. She's telling me to let it go, and I'm definitely telling her no. Her girlfriend was actually in between us at this point, trying, to tell us to break it up. And she's still carrying on, got her hand going over her girlfriend, and whatever point, she hit me. She clearly hit me. She hit me right, I believe it was the right side of my face. And from that point on, with the natural instinct, my hand just went up. I hit her with the club. Yes, I admit hitting her with it, but it was only after the point that she had already assaulted me and she had, violated my space. I did not intend to get out of my car and just fight with her.
She hit you and you hit her with the club?
Yes, because it was in the hand that was actually...
Okay, then what happened?
From that, we started fighting. I can't remember if I let the club go, where the club was. We ended up, I believe it was in her front yard. We were still fighting. I don't know if someone got her off of me because I was actually on the ground when we fell, because we fell over her, her gate. They got her off of me. I went to my car naturally to use my cell phone, to call, the police and tell them basically what happened and to get someone to move my car. I didn't have my charger and the cell phone was dead, so I couldn't use it. So one of the maintenance people from her housing came over and said, well, let me take you over to my supervisor and we'll get him the radio, someone to come over. And that's just what he did. And the cops did not come, but the Temple University police officer drove by.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She would not let go of that club, and when she tried to swing, it was a fist fight. I just kept hitting her on the right side of her face until she let go of this club.
And later today,
when I got the couch, I had to clean the couch because it reeked, because of people who had been sleeping on it in my mother's house.
Yeah.
And when I got the couch, there were mice in it. I had to clean the mice out of the couch.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Katie Sase says Nicole Hanna grabbed a club and struck Katie during an altercation over a parking space.
Okay, now let me hear your version of the events, starting with came downstairs and your fingers caught in the door.
Okay, as I was pointing to her and arguing with her about the insurance situation, she told me to wait a minute.
What'd you need the insurance for?
Because if she bumped me with that car, I asked her, do she have any insurance?
Just a second. If she bumped you with the car, listen to me very carefully, and you were able to have a fight with her on the lawn, right?
Right.
You clearly weren't injured.
No.
So
That's
what
why
you need
I asked her
just a
as
second.
question.
So what did you need her insurance for?
That was a question. Do she have any insurance?
Why did
to be
you need
bumping someone like that?
Well, bumping somebody requires, madam, if you want her insurance, it means that you were in some way injured by her actions. You were clearly not injured by her actions, so what did you need her insurance for?
To ask her, what was she going to bump me like that? If she must have insurance, or she's going to be bumping people like that.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Let's go.
So as I was pointing to her, she went and rolled the window up and smashed my finger in the window. I said, can you get my hand out this window? She told me to wait a minute. So I yanked my hand out the window because she would not unroll that window. So as I was done yanking my hand out the window, her window gave in a little. She came out the car with her club and bumped me on the right side of my head with that cone, with that club I meant. And as I went to pull it from her, it came apart. And when she tried to swing again, the other one went on the ground. As I tried to pull that from her, we went wrestling to try to let this club out her hand. We went to the corner and we went over the fence. And when we went over the fence, I wound up being on top. She would not let go of that club, and when she tried to swing, it was a fist fight. I just kept hitting her on the right side of her face until she let go of this club. A fist fight, as we both holding the club with the other side of my hand. She wouldn't let go. I had people to come up and try to say, Nikki, get off of her. You know, get off her, let's break it up. Don't y'all break up.
Who were you saving the parking space for?
Family member that was bringing some food home to the house.
Because your
so
car
I was in the window watching the spot.
Your car was parked.
My car was parked.
All right. You started this whole problem. You started the problem.
I started the problem.
Oh, absolutely. You started the problem.
By asking her nicely with respect?
Madam, I mean, I live in a big city. When somebody is looking for a parking space, and people say, well, we're saving these spots, we're putting cones out, we're putting people out to save spots. People say, you can't save spots for somebody who's coming in 10 minutes. This is a public street. You can't do that. You have no right to do that.
It's resident parking signs.
No, it's a residential parking place, madam, but it doesn't say for your family and friends.
I will not lie.
You can't save a parking space in a public street. How many times do I have to say that to you? You started this problem. You got your car there. She has an absolute right to park there. Absolute right to park there, and you know that. Because if she didn't have a right to park there, then what you do is you go into your house, you pick up the phone, you call the local police, and you say, there is an unauthorized car parked in front of my house. And they come and give her a ticket. But they would not have given her a ticket because you don't have the right to save spots in a public street. So you started this problem.
She didn't have no right to hit me with a club.
In my hand. Just a second. You had no right to start this problem by coming out of your house and starting this confrontation with her. You had no right to do that. You started the problem. You still don't. The club was later. And you put your hand in her car. You can't put your hand in her car. That's invading her space.
Her space?
That's invading her space in her car. And you were good and angry when you got downstairs. You were angry when you got downstairs. You were angry because you say she bumped you with her car.
That's when I was angry.
Just a second. You were angry because she bumped you with her car. And then You got your hands in her face in her car. In her car. You can't do that. You started this problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I have called the company that he bought it from, tried to make payments to the company. They would not let me make payments. They told me it was not my problem, it was his.
Sean, don't you see how ridiculous your argument is?
Closed captioning sponsored in part by Real Cases, Real People, Judge Judy. Katie Sase claims Nicole Hanna assaulted her. Nicole says Katie started it.
Now, how were you injured?
From when she hit me, my face swelled up, actually fracturing the side of my face. I don't know if because my club broke apart. Normally clubs don't break apart. It came apart from, I guess, the tension of us pulling back and forth on it.
Well, did she hit you with the club or with her hand?
She hit me with both.
How much out-of-pocket expenses did you have for your medicals?
Total of $1,120.
And how much was covered by insurance?
At that point, I didn't have any type of medical insurance, so it wasn't. It wouldn't go back and cover it at the time that it happened. So I was left with the bill.
It's all over a parking space. You have to pay her medical bills, $1,120. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. Let's step out.
This is what happens to people who act like heathens or who want to be vigilantes and take, the matter into their own hands.
I place that cone anywhere I feel like that's my cone in front of my door.
You pay for stupidity, I guess.
And now the next case.
All parties on Stewart versus Stewart. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Christopher Stewart says his brother, Sean Stewart, 22, took a couch he bought for their disabled mother.
You bought a couch for your mother?
Yes, ma'am.
And you put that on a credit card, or you store credit?
From the store.
How much was the couch?
The time it came out to $1,833.31.
He bought that for her because he said she liked it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
You were going to make payments on this couch?
Yes.
How much were the monthly payments?
$63.
Now, there came a time that you took the couch from your mother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
I had offered to make the payments on the couch because when the couch was bought, neither of the parties who were involved in buying the couch had jobs. And my brother was complaining that my mother had made no payments whatsoever on the couch. And when I took the couch over...
Just a minute. You bought the couch for your mother and she was going to pay for it?
No. I was working at the time. I was working at AFG, which is a glass plant.
So how many payments did you, in fact, make on the couch?
I haven't made any.
None?
No.
So you just bought it, you had it delivered to your mother. She didn't make any payments, you didn't make any payments.
Right.
Why?
I was on a 90-day deferred payment plan, and he got it before the payments were started to be due. He'd informed my parents that he'd been making the payments.
Just a second. Within 3 months, you took the couch?
It was more than 3 months.
How many months?
It was about 4 to 5 months.
So 4 months. You took the couch when it was brand new?
Yeah, because no payments had been made on it, even when the 90 days was up.
Okay, so a month went by. Let us say that they were delinquent in a month's payment. You took the couch. Did you make the payments?
After I got the couch, after me and my brother had made an agreement, I lost my job from where I was working and was on unemployment. And at that time, I had a daughter and a wife and a baby on the way.
Well, what's your defense to this action?
Well, I've had the couch since, I believe, I'd say around September, October of '97.
Yeah.
And when I got the couch, I had to clean the couch because it reeked because of people who had been sleeping on it in my mother's house.
Yeah.
And when I got the couch, there were mice in it. I had to clean the mice out of the couch.
Yeah.
Doubt it. And I just think it's totally ridiculous. And I have called the company that he bought it from, tried to make payments to the company. They would not let me make payments. They told me it was not my problem, it was his. I told them that I would bring the couch back to them, and they told me no, it was not my problem to deal with.
Sean, don't you see how ridiculous your argument is? What's your defense to this action that would require one brother to sue another brother?
I haven't spoken to my brother for over a year. He lives with my mother and my stepfather, who I do not speak with.
Well.
And he has never asked for the couch. After my son was born in April, about 2 weeks later, him and my parents showed up at my house with the police. Never calling. I have never been asked for the couch back. They have gone to...
You have to pay for it. You've had it since 1997. This is almost a millennium, sir. You've sat on it, you've slept on it, you've entertained on it, you've used it. They don't want the couch back. They want you to make the payments on it, as you promised you would.
Nothing was ever said because he was filing bankruptcy, the last that I knew of.
Could you explain to me why you are suing him for $5,000?
It wasn't supposed to be urgent. I just marked it down. I wasn't sure. I didn't really want to have to do this. And I've gone to his house.
You don't want to sue it, so why did you pick a number like $5,000? The couch cost $1,833.
Right now, they're asking for $2,673.
Show me.
I don't have it with me.
Then I can't help you. If you're a grown-up and an adult and you're coming to court, you got to bring paperwork.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Call 1-888-800-JUDY. On the internet, judgejudy.com.
You bought the couch from your brother, sir. It's as simple as that. You had a contract with your brother. It's a verbal contract. You were buying this 4-month-old couch with the agreement that you were going to take over the payments. You failed to do that. That's simple.
There was no agreement for him to take over any payments.
That's good. The court will draft an order, but this money is payable to Levitz, is that correct?
Yes.
You ought to make out a check, sir.
There's also...
To Levitz, because I am going to see that the company is paid. Do we understand each other?
Fine. That's fine with me.
Isn't that wonderful? I'm going to see that the company is paid $1,833.31. You understand? So the judgment is for the plaintiff in that amount, but the check is to be made out directly to the company. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I think her judgment was fair for the company to receive the money on the couch.
It was fair. I mean, I've never had a problem paying for the couch. There was no agreement for him to take over payments. It was supposed to be, he was storing it there until I found another place to live.
The story of Nimrod's daughter and prophet Ibrahim. In the annals of Islamic tradition, the story of Prophet Ibrahim, Abraham, peace be upon him, and Nimrod's daughter provides profound lessons about faith, defiant Nimrod's rule and his encounter with Ibrahim. Nimrod was a ruler known for his immense power and audacity. Some traditions suggest that he ruled over a vast empire, including the city of Babylon. His arrogance reached such heights that he declared himself a deity, demanding that his subjects worship him as their god. It was during this time that Prophet Ibrahim began preaching the oneness of Allah, challenging Nimrod's claim to divinity. The Quran recounts an intense debate between Nimrod and Ibrahim. Nimrod, in his arrogance, attempted to rival Allah's power, proclaiming that he too could grant life and death. To demonstrate this, he ordered the execution of an innocent man while sparing another, claiming this as proof of his control over life. Prophet Ibrahim countered by asking Nimrod to cause the sun to rise from the west instead of the east, a task Nimrod's daughter and her encounter with Ibrahim. Though not directly mentioned in the Quran, some narrations and stories from Islamic folklore introduce the figure of Nimrod's daughter. She is portrayed as a princess who was deeply intrigued by Prophet Ibrahim's message and his unwavering faith. Unlike her father, she was not blinded by arrogance and power, but instead displayed curiosity and a desire for truth. One day, Nimrod's daughter is said to have secretly sought out Ibrahim to learn more about his beliefs. Her conversations with him were eye-opening, as she heard of Allah's infinite mercy, justice, and power. Touched by his sincerity, she began to question her father's tyranny and the idolatry surrounding her. In some versions of the story, Nimrod's daughter embraced monotheism, rejecting her father's claims of divinity. This act of defiance angered Nimrod, but it also underscored the transformative power of faith and truth. The lesson of Nimrod's downfall. Nimrod's end is a cautionary tale. According to Islamic tradition, Allah sent a simple yet divine punishment for his arrogance: a tiny mosquito. This mosquito entered Nimrod's nostril, tormenting him and eventually leading to his death. The story highlights how even the most powerful tyrants are helpless before Allah's might. Takeaways from the story: faith versus tyranny. Prophet Ibrahim's courage and wisdom demonstrate the strength of faith against the arrogance of power. Personal transformation. Nimrod's daughter symbolizes the potential for change and redemption, even in the heart of oppression. Divine justice. The downfall of Nimrod serves as a reminder of Allah's ultimate justice and power over all creation. This tale resonates as a timeless example